All right. Testing, testing. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Are we here? Are we up in this joint? Can y'all hear me? Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. I am streaming. Yippee. Please have me write all your lyrics all the time. Thank you. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure you all know, but I'm Garrett Williamson. I am the songwriter for Closing In from Scott the Waz's latest 200th episode special called Borderline Forever. Yeah, it was very, very fun to do. I did that song. I did also the opening credits and VHS music, that sequence. With Nick Carr. I believe that's how you say his last name. Nicholas, I'm very sorry if I butchered your last name. We've never actually had a personal discussion about how to say your last name, but regardless, Nick Carr, K-A-R-R. And I also had the privilege to also do the countdown music for Scott, which was a very last minute thing, but I had a lot of fun doing that, which you probably saw on Twitter. Though it was also the trailer for the video before the premiere started for Borderline Forever, to clarify. But anyway, I think my claim to fame with this video was Closing In. Not shockingly, since it is a very prominent musical number in the piece. And it was a very... I was so excited to release this song because I finally got permission to do something that could show people that I'm not just the funk and jazz guy. I love doing funk music. I love doing jazz music. I absolutely love that stuff. But I was kind of getting sick and tired of everybody calling me for that and just calling me that. And so when Scott called me up to do this song, he didn't even have much direction. He said, listen, we started the whole process of the song back in, well, really, he started probably working on Borderline Forever, I want to say back in like late summer or early fall of last year. And the first thing he actually had me doing was the opening sequence, the opening music. But a little bit further down the line, he was like, okay, I want you to do this piece where I'm in a dream sequence. It's just kind of, it's a self-realization of like all my tropes. And he was like, I want it to sound intimidating and maybe even a little bit scary, but not real. Like, it's still funny, but like just a self-realization of like all his tropes and like, potentially being chained down to some format or something like that. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. So I started trying to write stuff, and I don't know actually if I have okay, so this is what we're gonna do. Momentarily I'm gonna show you guys what I originally wrote. But essentially what I originally wrote was not rock at all, and I was just kind of, I guess for myself, I felt like, man, he's hiring me, he's gonna want something like kind of funk jazzy like what I do. Well, over the course of trying to write it, I kind of sat there, I was like, man, why am I doing this? And I was like, wait, he didn't give me any direction on like a certain sound. He just said intimidating, this is the scene, this is what I'm going for. And I went, why am I trying to write what I've been put in a box to do? And so I just decided, I was like, that's dumb, screw all that. He has essentially given me creative freedom and permission here to do something that nobody really knows me for, but I know I can do. So I was like, screw it, I'm gonna write a rock piece. And that's what I did. And I sent him a demo. I was a little nervous. I was like, I don't know how he's gonna feel about this because people don't know me for this. but I sent him a demo and he went, "This is fantastic, please keep going." And I was like, oh my gosh, I am getting to do this right now, and I loved that. And that's essentially how the piece got started. But let me go ahead and I'm gonna open up. So this is the project right here, but I'm actually gonna go ahead and open up. You like my my background here? I'm gonna go ahead. Okay, so this is all it was. It was a piano piece. Well, it wasn't a piano piece, but I just written stuff with the piano. And this is essentially the first thing that I tried writing. Very, very different. So I'll just go ahead and play it for you. Right, so this would have been the verse. First thing is, like, I should say this right now. I usually go through probably 2 or 3 just trying to write different things. It's not until the second or third one at least that I go, okay, now I'm feeling this. I kind of have to get in the mode. So this was first try and I was like, no, this isn't working. But I had to kind of get through this to be able to be like, okay, this isn't what I want to do. Now I know what I want to do as a result of knowing what I don't want to do, right? By getting in that mode. Right? It's not energetic enough. It's a little too happy. Right? But I'm trying to get jazzy. So this was the only element that, and even this didn't stay, but this is the only element right here that I still kind of migrated over to the actual track as it turned out. So that I kind of ended up using that idea as the build-up for, so let me just play it and try and sing kind of what I was hearing. It's closing in, it's closing in, it's closing in. Right, so I ended up kind of migrating that into the actual track, the song you guys know, but that's really the only part of this that is even relatively similar. So yeah, yeah, so that's pretty much the first track. That's how it started, and then it turned into what you guys know. So I'll go ahead and reopen that track, but while I'm at it, before we start getting into that, firstly, I'm going to show you guys early demos. So let me go ahead and show you guys the first demo that I showed Scott. I'm pretty sure this is the first demo I showed Scott. But yeah, so here's that. Right. So right, it's already pretty close here, but what I want to say real quick before I keep playing is, like, all of this essentially is like MIDI stuff that I just programmed in. It doesn't sound good, but it was just to give the idea of what I would get players to eventually play, right? So this is the first demo that I sent Scott. Right, your stupid MIDI guitar. Right, so that's pretty much it. That's the first thing I sent Scott, and he went, yes, keep going. And then I've got, it says demo 2. Let's hear if that's any different. Oh, so yeah, so here's my scratch vocal. This is me singing the melody, and I'm going, okay, Scott, this is what I want you to sing, right? Right, so really crappy scratch vocal. Right? So it ended up staying pretty true to my demo. It sounds so dinky and stupid, right? This is essentially, right, because the whole idea is just, I need to get you, and I, like, here's the concept. I can't record anything yet legit, but here's what I'm going for, right? And then we record it for real, and it actually sounds legit. Right, so that's pretty much it. And then here's demo 3. You know, I actually don't know the differences between all these, but I guess I'm about to find out. So far, it sounds the same. Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay, so I wrote in, I programmed in a stupid guitar solo as again, just a general idea, right? And I'll kind of explain what I was going for here in a moment. Anyway, so yeah, there you go. That's the full demo. So then there's scratch vocal demo here. I guess I'll show you guys this real quick.
Da-na-na-na. Who are you? I'm something, you're a trope. You know, conversations back and forth.
Yeah, this is me explaining to Scott what I'm hearing in my head. So literally, the way he originally explained it, it sounded like he wanted numerous versions of him as tropes communicating with himself. So my idea was, what the frick, who are you? Hi! You know, that kind of like weird, dumb stuff. Screen is frozen? Is screen frozen? Can you guys see me talking right now? Do you see me? Is my hand moving? It was really funny. And it was supposed to be funny. But it's funny listening back. So let's just
I'm something, you're a trope. You know, conversations back and forth.
Yeah.
That kind of idea.
See? So the track is not frozen. I'm not playing this right now. You guys aren't hearing the project. You're hearing iTunes. Logic isn't frozen. You guys just aren't I'm not even using Logic at the moment. So, yeah, anyway. So there's that. Yeah, like I just said, I'm not using Logic. Logic isn't moving at the moment. Anyway, yeah, so that's pretty much that. And then we started getting in guitars, and then you know, I don't even know. I'll go ahead and just start showing you guys the project. But regarding that, well, yeah, sorry. I'll get to the guitar solo one when we get there. We get there when we get there. Points to anybody that knows that quote. We get there when we get there. So, yeah. Let's see. How do we want to do this? You know what? Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. So, you guys understand now that pretty much everything was MIDI at the beginning, right? I programmed in everything just to give an idea. This is what I've written. This is what I'm wanting to approach. So then I called up Chase Akers and Bennett Roach to come over and play guitar. I'll get to that in a moment, and I'm actually going to call Chase Akers. So Chase will be talking with us. He will be joining us. But before I do that, I do want to just show you guys what I did here, just so we're covering all our bases. I've got numerous like just loops here and things that I kind of threw in. at the beginning, kind of what I wanted to do was ease the song into the rock element, right? So I didn't want it to immediately be like, like just right off the bat, just like heavy guitars and craziness. Because I felt like with the way that the video probably was going, Scott's style, I wanted to kind of boil the frog slowly, you know, get everybody into the song a little bit before really hitting them with the rock. So I started, I started obviously by having a little bit of a softer kind of creepy, almost like Heffalumps and Woozles-ish kind of beginning here, almost a little haunted. So I've got various different loops. A lot of these I got from Splice. I couldn't tell you exactly the pack or anything. It's pretty hard to say with Splice. You just kind of find stuff and use it. But shout out to Splice. This was not Splice though. This is actually a loop from the classic Mellotron, and I reversed it. So you can actually hear this exact loop, just not reversed, in Sonic Heroes Hang Castle. They use this same loop, and it's from the Mellotron. Right, so that you've got that, and then you've got, this is from Splice. Right, and I've got a bit crusher on it. I'm filtering it so it's kind of like, it's like opening up as it goes. Same with this, filter on this. Again, it's reversed. You know, some classic, you know, tape emulation, and I'm really screwing with it to make the tapes feel a little old, right? Give it that lo-fi, almost creepy feel to it. And then, of course, you've got your classic, which, you know, you all heard this, the breakout melody in reverse. Right? And the way that I play that, you're going to see all these. So these are all my hidden tracks, right? This is all crap that just ended up not even getting used. Basically, what you do to get, or at least what I do to get the effect, is I will play the melody as is. Then I will bounce it down as an audio file and reverse it. So then it sounds like this. Right? That's a totally different melody. But here's the kicker. If I then play that melody in real time and not in reverse, and then reverse that, you get the melody backwards, right? So I think, right? Right? So then if I just take that and reverse that, let me go ahead and mute this again. You get. So this will probably be uploaded to the channel later, yes. So there you go. That's how you get that reverse effect, where you want the melody to play exactly, you know, what you wanted to play, but in reverse. And then, of course, you got your reverse crash. This is a classic trick that a million producers use. You know. And that's it. Reverse cymbal. You will hear that everywhere. And then there's this. This is another Splice sample. What's really funny is I actually saw a commercial the other day on YouTube that used this exact sample, which I thought was really funny. And that's it. That's all it is. And then finally, a harp kind of ad-lib, like glissando sample that is from, it is, I bounced it down as an audio file, but it is, I played it in, like it's just a single note, but it's from Cineharps, and then I just bounced it down so I had more control over it. So, right, so you really get that, ooh, he's in a dream. Right, right, and you can hear some distortion there. I really tried to lo-fi it up here, right? That tape emulation. So there you go. And then yeah, I guess the next step is let's call Chase. Y'all want to hear Chase Akers, one of the guitar players on the project, one of the three. Let me make sure he's good to go. And we're gonna get him in here and he can help talk about recording the guitars. How did you mix the vocals? I will get to that. I will totally get to that. And once I get through this whole process and explain all of this, if there's anything I've missed, I will absolutely answer any questions you guys have. So stick around, stay tuned to if you have any questions following any of this, and I will be happy to answer your guys' questions. All right. Start voice call. Hello?
Hello?
There you are. Hold on. Let's make sure you're I think you should be. Yeah, okay. You are robot voice right now. Are you in an okay spot for Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Oh.
Now.
It's still a little choppy.
Okay. My fiber.
Yeah, you're cutting out a lot. Are you on your Wi-Fi?
I call.
We could try doing. Say what again?
Tried.
Wow. Yeah, you're cutting out constantly, man.
Well, this ending and really want done up as with.
Yeah, I can't. Hold on. All right, hold on, dude. I'm gonna try calling them over.
Yes.
Hi. Yeah, I couldn't even tell what you were saying. You're constantly cutting out, so I'm wondering if speakerphone is just.
What I was saying is there's a WeTransfer sending on my computer.
Oh.
90%.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's probably taking up all the headroom.
Yeah.
That is about to end.
Okay.
Like in 10 seconds.
Okay. All right. We'll try again once that's
Okay.
resolved.
Great.
All right. Talk to you in a second. Okay. Want to change the region? Yeah. No. It sounds like he just he had a file he was trying to upload while calling, which may have been taking up like all of his internet. So we're gonna give him one quick sec. Hopefully this isn't showing any information that you guys. I don't think so. Yeah, it's not. Uno momento. But yeah, I guess okay, here we go. Testing. Are you there?
Yes.
You're still kind of cutting out. Talk again.
That hey, you want to?
Yeah, that's not gonna work. I don't know why it's cutting out so much.
Is there thing on I can?
Yeah, I can't. I literally can't even understand you. Testing. Yeah, let's just try speakerphone if you're cool with that. All right, I'm gonna try calling you again on the phone. Hey, sorry. Part of me wonders if I don't know. It could be on my end. I have no clue, but like, it just it's like non-intelligible.
Do you want me to try Discord on my phone?
I mean, you can.
Let's do that.
Okay.
It's right there.
All right, we'll give that a shot. If that doesn't work, then I'll probably just stick to speakerphone. Sorry, guys. One more second. It's not a Garrett stream if there's no technical difficulties. This is unfortunately way too true. Okay, testing. Are you there?
How about now?
Yeah, that's way better.
Okay.
So something about your iPhone, or excuse me, your computer. That's weird. All right, well, you're live. Everybody say hi to Chase Akers.
Hey y'all, what's going on?
So I just got through kind of explaining like the general like the gist of how the whole thing got started all the way up until getting you and Bennett in the same room to record.
Right.
And so yeah, now I'm at that point, and I'm wanting to show them the guitar stuff, which you're not gonna really be able to hear, unless let's see. How would I want to do? I mean, I guess I could share with you the stream. Hold on, I bet I could share with you the stream.
Send the link on my Mac, and I'll just I'll turn the sound off.
Yeah. So I called up Chase and Bennett, and I had this idea that I wanted to record all of the guitars, or most of the guitars. I wanted to record a lot of it together. So I wanted to have them both in the same room and recording their parts at the same time and trying to stay as close to first takes as I possibly can. We didn't completely stay to first takes. A lot of it was second takes. You can see there's some punch-ins going on here. But, by and large, I was really trying to stick to just like, not punching like every other bar or something like that. Not fixing, definitely not fixing or flex timing anything in post. No beat detection. And just getting getting Chase and Bennett playing together. And I, a big part of another really cool thing about that was trying to get two different tones from Chase and from Bennett, where Bennett was a little bit more, and I can isolate this in a second to show you guys, but Bennett was a little bit more of like the top end bite that you hear, and Chase's tone was a little bit more of the body underneath, kind of the thicker tone. And after that, which Chase, I don't even know if you know about this, but afterward I mixed the two in and I was liking it, but it was bugging me something was driving me crazy, and I felt like part of the problem was we didn't put enough focus on mid-range. We'd focused so much on the top end and the bottom end that we kind of missed out on the mid-range. So what I actually did is I sent the track to Joshua, my buddy Joshua Typely, which you guys have also heard his work across quite a bit of my music.
What does Josh do?
He is very good. He's definitely very good at the are you asking what he did on this track?
Yeah, more in general. I don't know if I've done anything with you on that involves Josh, so I don't know. I'm just not familiar. Yeah,
well, Joshua, I guess a couple examples of things Josh has done is he did the guitar solo on Switch. He did the guitar solo on Your Way.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he did for those of you that are familiar with. I'm not sure if Chase, if you've heard it, but just recently I did this it was a lot of fun to do. This anime theme song for this YouTuber. I did hear that.
Okay. That was dope.
Yeah, so that the guitarist on that is also Joshua. He's really, what I figured out is he has figured out how to do like the super anime stuff. He's figured out how to do very like kind of glam metal kind of stuff as well. He's really good at like Sonic the Hedgehog kind of sound.
And all that really is like, that's just 80s Dan Huff tone.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, very much so. But he also comes from like heavily influence of like Japanese players, and a lot of those players like they really love the 80s approach to guitar playing, and in a way a lot of them never let it go, and it's kind of charming. And so, but regardless, this was actually kind of a different this was a very different project for me to hit him up with. But what I knew is that Joshua is really great with mid-tone guitar tones, really good at like kind of the mids. And so I went, hey, I need you to real quick, if you could for me, just stack on top of the rhythm guitars here. I need you to record just pretty much the same thing. And I told him, I was like, please try and stick to like as much of like, don't try to fix yourself a ton. Like, you know, still keep it pretty raw. And he did, and it's fantastic. And so it was a combination of 3 guitars as a result. So you've got Bennett's guitar, Joshua's guitar. Bennett's having the top end bite, Josh with the mid-tone, and Chase with the thick low end body. That's how you got the tone. So Chase, I wanted to talk with you about because I don't really remember all the gear that you used and you know, all that kind of stuff, and so I was curious if you wanted to talk about that at all.
Well, it's not much. I mean, it really wasn't much gear. And when you going back to the genesis of how the track started, and you said, you know, I've got this thing for Scott that is going to be like a grunge thing. And I thought, okay, well, my first, you know, impetus of grunge, I'm thinking it's 4 tracks at the most. And then I'm like, no, it's a G Willie track. It's Garrett Williamson. It's going to be like 100 tracks. So that's, you know, no matter if it's grunge or like smooth R&B, like Devin Morrison joints, it's still going to be like a lot going on. So
yeah,
you said I just need rhythm guitar from you. So it was pretty easy to run. I was lucky enough to get an endorsement through Fender. And so they gave me one of those, Fender makes this deluxe reverb imitation amp called the Tone Master that is all solid state, no tubes. But if you break it up around like 7 or 8 on the volume knob, I mean, I went to 10 for this thing, but you know, it breaks up really early and it's killer tone. And I didn't really need any pedals for this joint.
Yeah.
So little compression on the input, and that was about it.
Yep. Yeah, I've got a picture right here. This is not a great picture, but this right here is the amp he's talking about. So yeah, sorry, continue, Chase.
No, yeah, it's right there on the right. It's this tiny little amp that just sounds enormous. So I ran a standard Paul through that, strung with 12s for a little more meat.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it was just cool to do something a little heavier for Scott.
Yeah.
And you know, hearing the outcome is obviously killer.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat said Garrett's the rock and pop version of Jacob Collier with all his tracks. To AMJ in the chat, I would say even calling Garrett just the rock and pop version of Jacob Collier is reductive, because Garrett can make so many different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was you know, that was part of it, was just kind of a cool exploration in what's it going to be with 2 guitarists in the room.
Yeah.
Versus 1.
Yeah. And I had so much fun doing that, because that's really the first time that I really had an excuse to sit 2 people down to play their parts at the same time.
Right.
And it was so, and I really think the sound of it really shine through, because what I was very adamant about with the reason that I wanted it to be recorded like both at the same time, not really trying to perfect it too much, is I really wanted that raw live feel to it. And I really wanted that, again, that grunge feel for sure. But you know, what I love about a lot of those grunge records is that it really does just sound like a whole bunch of guys playing in a room. And I wanted to try and capture that. And I think Chase and Bennett nailed that. So you used a Les Paul for most of it. I want to say you did. I think you used a Tele for the build-up part, the dun it's closing it down. Like, that's a Tele. That's everything else was a Les Paul. I remember you were having trouble with the tuning of it. It was kind of giving you a little trouble there.
Gibsons notoriously don't stay in tune.
Yeah.
And what did you do in post to the Tele? Did you do anything differently?
I don't think so. Look, literally this, if you're looking right now, I have got,
I see it.
So here is the Tele. I'll go ahead and solo it and play it for you guys so you guys can hear it. And really what I should do, in fact, before I do that, real quick, what I should do is kind of show you guys each guitar part so you guys can understand how it's all coming together. So this is a Les Paul. This is what Chase played, and we play. You know, we recorded each part where they're playing it. They're stacking it. So I've got one in hard left ear and one in hard right ear, for each player here. So for Chase, here's his Les Paul. Right. And then on top of that, you've got Bennett with his P90 pickup guitar. I don't even know exactly what that guitar is.
It was like a copy of a PRS.
Yeah. Okay. See. This is why we have Chase here, because he can answer the guitar questions. I'm not a guitarist, so.
Somebody said Garrett 4 tracks, impossible.
True. Yeah. So then this is Bennett's part right here. Right, and then finally, you've got Josh, who, again, like I said, is pretty much covering the midtones. So here's Josh. So, all together... And you can even hear nobody's perfectly in tune with each other, and I love it. Like it's just a little out, and it's a little messy, and I like that. Yeah, that's how that worked. So then yeah, to get back to the telly thing, Chase, I think largely because we were having trouble. I think it was literally because we were just having trouble with the tuning on the Les Paul.
I got pissed off.
Yeah.
To be like, I'm done with this.
Yeah. So we switched over the telly for this one part here, and it's not. I mean, I'll play it back. It's
not bad.
It pretty much sounds like. It kind of sounds like the Les Paul. I mean, it's got a little bit more top end to it for sure.
Well, and
but
the telly is made of 2 single coils, so it's just it's also just a different animal.
Yeah, it totally is. But I mean, you know, on the chain, I'm not doing much, and that goes for a lot of these. You know, like the single tracks themselves, like it's just an SSL channel. And again, I'll get into this in a bit, the mix side of it, but it was just an E channel, and then on the on the telly bus, because I bus pretty much all of these, is some tape emulation, and I guess I set it to 7.5 to
just barely touching it.
Yeah, that just softens the top end a little bit, takes off a little bit of bite, and then I guess I brought up a little bit of mid lows here, really mid, on the telly, and that probably all was mainly just to kind of get it to match with the Les Paul a little bit. You know, the Les Paul's pretty much, again, I'm not doing too much here. Like it was largely about just getting a good tone from the get-go. But yeah, that's pretty much that. And to show, so I showed you guys that one image of kind of the studio setup, but in the other room we had where is it?
The cab and
we had, and my gosh, that thing was loud. That thing was remarkable. So Bennett,
also like
what were you gonna say?
It's a 212, so yeah, it's gonna blow the roof off.
Yeah, it like literally we had it up. I want to look at this. It wasn't even the 2. We had the volume not even at 2, and it was like incredibly loud. So yeah, this is the he had a Showman amp that's what we were. That was the amp, and then the cabinet, he said, was like a vintage from like the 60s, I want to say. I don't know what the cabinet was, but that's the only big mistake I feel like I made is when we did the solo. I really should have moved the mic to the left speaker, because it was a softer speaker. It wasn't quite as bright, which I think was with the tone that he was getting with that guitar solo. I really should have put the mic over here. But I didn't, because I wasn't thinking about it, and that's, you know, among the many mistakes I've made in my life, but it's okay. You know, I try not to, you know, EQ the living snot out of things. I like to just get a good
Right.
tone from the beginning, but with that situation, I EQ'd the living snot out of it because I should have just recorded it properly and I didn't. So this is what happens when you don't record it properly.
But that's
Um,
I mean, that's also the hallmark of like making a rock record is
Yeah.
you gotta go in the right
Yeah.
way.
It's true. It's true.
Pause.
Um,
But yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean that's pretty much that's the guitar. Is it like is there anything else you would say about like recording the guitars?
Diminishing returns is definitely a danger when it comes like if there's people just starting out on their production writing and stuff and overdubbing even like you have to like guitar like I'm a guitar player by trade but I live in production so it's
Right.
constantly like I find myself doing home overdubs like making sure okay am I just layering for the sake of layering on the same pickup and the same settings and
Yeah.
the same crap and you're going to get diminishing returns because stuff will get out of phase and like you'll start getting a lot of mud at 80 and you'll
Yeah.
lose your kick like you almost have to treat I don't know I guess talking about a rock record is going to be different than talking about like a modern R&B cut or
Right,
something
totally.
or even pop where like the guitar is almost treated like a percussion instrument.
Yeah.
In this space, I would say like if you're wanting to make a record like this, then take the AC/DC Mutt Lange approach of, you know, those guitars were stacked on purpose with the correct tones in the correct places.
Yeah.
And even Steely Dan did a lot of that too. Like
Totally.
putting every little thing in its perfect space. And sometimes you do want that kind of Queens of the Stone Age
Yeah.
think I ain't worth a dollar thing where
Yeah.
it's just loud.
Yeah.
Like and I think we went for some of that here.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Oh, the Mario star just popped up on the nice.
Oh, did I get a follower on Twitch? That was
There,
probably a follower
that's
on
what
Twitch.
that is.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think
there
so.
you go.
Yeah.
Boom. So are you like double streaming?
I'm not streaming on Twitch. I'm just getting the notifications from Twitch, which is funny. No, I'm just streaming on YouTube right now because I think more of my audience on YouTube cares about this thing than Twitch. My Twitch audience does. So
Wow.
yeah. Yeah.
But it was cool. Like it was also like it was a stretching point for me to like play a rock record and do something a little different because a lot of the stuff Return of the Woz, like Return of the Mac. Someone in the chat. A lot of the stuff I do for you is so hyper precise and precision based.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool. It was kind of cool to do something messy.
Yeah.
But it also made me want to like get more into processing on the front end and like pedals and designing some rock tone that could be
totally
useful in other places because you know we're looking at like that new Skrillex joint I sent you that has all the like it's like a punk song,
right,
but it's produced by Skrillex, so I don't even know what to make of that.
Totally. Yeah, well, I mean, I think it turned out really great, you know? Yeah. Like, I was just texting you yesterday. I was like, man, listening back to this mix after not, like, having to listen to it, like, over and over again. I was like, dang, these guitars actually sound really great in the mix.
They do.
Yeah, so, and that is, you know, practically entirely because of the players and the tones that you guys got. So, yeah, thank you once again. And shout out to Bennett. Bennett could not make it. He couldn't make it to the stream. He had prior obligations, but hopefully okay, so I guess that's my other question is since you're a little bit more guitar savvy, do you recall anything that Bennett used that would be worth noting? Because I'm not gonna be able to say.
Yeah, he had some like I don't remember the brand of pedal, but I know he had some boutique or vintage like he had a ring modulator and a phaser that he was using a lot on that clean riff in the intro. Boo-doo, ba-da-da, that
Uh-huh.
whole thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, zoom in on that gray thing in the top right.
Oh,
of
yeah,
the
hold
photo,
on.
next to the M9.
Sorry, where again? Where am I going here?
In the photo, yeah, that little gray, that like gray pedal down, pan out. It's above the thing with all the stickers on it.
Above the thing with all the stickers on it.
Yeah, it's like a black pedal. Your
Oh,
cursor's
yeah.
on it
Are
right
you
now.
talking with the white knobs?
No, the thing next to it.
Oh, okay, the one with the 3 black knobs.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was a gain pedal that he was really liking, and it just broke up so early. And
Yeah.
it had in its design, it had so much compression on it that like
Yeah.
all that stuff he was doing was super heavy,
Yeah.
and a lot of it came from that pedal and the little silver pedal next to the M9.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
But yeah, he was just kind of experimenting with some creative tone with that phaser and overdrive, and like kind of switching out the order, like if I put the overdrive through the phaser or vice versa,
Yep.
what happens.
Yep.
All of it was killer.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool for me to be able to just sit back and do the rhythm thing and know like this is what I'm doing,
Right.
and kind of let let Bennett take the driver's seat on the more experimental stuff.
Right. Yeah, which, you know, I knew Bennett was and has been always a huge Nirvana fan, which, you know, I'll get to talking about the influences on this song, but you know, I wear them. The song wears its influences on its sleeve. It's pretty clearly inspired by Nirvana. You know, and so that was reason enough for me to be like, Bennett, I need you on this track, because I know Bennett was so into Kurt Cobain's style that he got really good at like getting that kind of sound. You know, and that's why I'd love to have him on here, but unfortunately can't at the moment. Do you remember, Chase, what he used for the solo, or were you kind of not that? I remember we started recording the solo and you're like, all right, coffee break for me.
I was just wiped, but
Yeah.
I do remember that I do remember he kicked that chorus on that blue thing. That's
Yeah.
a Boss super chorus.
Yeah.
And it gave it, you know, it started really singing. He was still playing that PRS though, so I think he played that the whole time.
He pretty much used that almost the entire time. I think he brought his telly. He may have used it for something. I have no clue. I don't remember. I think he may have used that PRS for everything.
Yeah, I don't think he did use a telly.
Yeah.
But it was, again, like the main quality of a lot of that grunge tone in the solo stuff, you can kind of boil it down to like a lot of overdrive, good bit of chorus,
Yeah.
and like no reverb.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there is reverb, but it's more like room reverb, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and the other thing is, that was part of what I actually, like, I wish I had almost had like an extra channel so I could mic like the bathroom tone just to get the freaking sound of the bathroom. But I think we still got a little bit of it, you know, just baked in, because we literally had that amp set up in a bathroom.
You totally did. And it's that boxy thing that I really like, coming from the EDM side.
Yeah.
Of like putting like a wavetable synth through like a boxy room reverb.
Yeah.
And it makes it sound enormous.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, kind of how do I describe it? It's that like barking thing that a lot of the big electronic guys like, yeah, like it.
Uh-huh.
But you put it through like a bathroom sound, and it ends up having like a dimension to it.
Yes.
Like it ends up being 4-dimensional.
Totally. Totally.
But that's what I liked about Bennett's tone. A lot of Bennett's work was just throwing noodles on the wall to see what would stick.
Yep.
And he would just try. I mean, the stuff took a long time, mainly because we were just trying to figure out what would fit best in the tone palette.
Yeah,
But you know,
it worked out.
that's how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, it worked out. Yeah, it ended up sounding great. Yeah, is there anything else you would note?
I don't know. Is there anything I'm missing? Like, you mean like
I don't think so.
guitar specifically? Like,
Yeah. I mean, I guess if there was one thing I'm thinking of, I guess it's when we did the chorus. It was your idea. To, like, I think I kind of heard it, but I didn't think about it when you decided to. I'm pretty sure it was you that had the idea to do the ba ba
yeah. So that thing. So the way you do that, it should be noted that I went down to drop C for this.
Yes, yeah. The chorus is drop C. That's what Chase Weimer came over to record bass, and he brought his 6-string because he was like, it's gonna be too low for my P bass, and tuning it down isn't gonna sound good. So we recorded this on a 6-string. So
the way I did it was I tuned the whole guitar down a whole step.
yeah,
So meaning that your high E string would be a D,
yeah,
so on and so forth. But the low E string was a C natural.
yeah,
So you can get more. So if the chorus goes bum 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 to an A,
right,
or bum bum bo bo to a C, C natural to A.
yeah,
You have to have more depth in the string to get there, right?
yeah,
But there's a trick that's an old old hair metal trick where you finger mute on the 3rd fret, like on top of the 3rd fret. You can get a killer harmonic out of it, and
yeah.
it rings for you theory nerds like me. It in the overtone series, it rings out like a minor 7.
Yeah.
So it's like this ging 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 ging, like
Yeah.
this really heavy thing. You stack that 4 times, and it sounds like a machine gun. Killer.
Yep. Yep.
So that was. We also did a. Boom, boom,
Yeah, the bend was awesome, and that bend was part, like, I actually was still trying to figure out the chorus melody, like how it would be sung, and that bend helped me to figure it out.
How so?
Well, it was just I heard the bend, and then it was because I kind of wrote the chorus with the idea of like heart-shaped box in my head, you know, bum bum like, oh, crap. How does it go again? Da na 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 ba na da da na 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 na, and I'm not singing it in the right key right now, but it was that kind of thing where it was like, you know, Dave Grohl. Now, of course, I'm going like all cymbals. That's how I wanted the drums to be played, but you know, in Dave Grohl's situation, it's dum bum pow tom snare, and I wanted to do something like that here. And the bend that Kurt played in that song is kind of what we ended up doing here too. And I wanted to play along. I wanted to just go even further because Kurt sings with his guitar part in Heart Shaped Box. And so when you guys committed to doing that like bend thing, which I thought sounded great, I was like, oh, that's what I figured out. That's how I wanted to do the vocals for the chorus. I wanted the vocals to essentially go with that bend. Let me go ahead and just play the guitars by themselves real quick so you guys can hear that. Oh man, and you guys had that. I want to say it was Bennett's idea. It may have been a collective thing where you guys wanted to play that that major third there, the second. I loved that, and then right on top of that, you guys just all started working off of each other. So then it went, yeah. So you guys started stacking harmonies on top of each other
to a major third.
Yeah. And then you may have heard it, I'm not sure, but when I sent it to Josh, he then added a whole other part on top of that. So you guys all were working off of each other harmonically. It was so cool. And it was like, he sent it to me. Say what again?
Happens. That never freaking happens when you're passing a hard drive around. So that's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me just play this real quick. There's like 3 parts going on there. And I love Bennett. Like Bennett's really shrilly sound there. It's like so like it bites so hard. It's so yeah, it was. Yes, I remember because he had that crazy distortion pedal that just would like do this crazy thing where with like certain notes it would like literally give it like a tremolo effect the way it processed the distortion
On Bennett's board?
yeah. Do you if
Yeah. We'll
yeah,
have
it
to
would
ask him.
it would like do that with the distortion pedal. It was crazy. He showed it to me and I was like, we've got to use that. And he did. It was sick.
It really was. Scott is a Nirvana fan confirmed. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, the Bennett's tone is what made it grunge. But the combination of all of them is what made it a true rock record. It could not have sounded any good without all three of those guitar parts. But it like, I mean, the playing of all you guys and that like the raw, the kind of messy feel, but even then you guys still played really tight. It's just not perfected at all. So it's just got that really great feel of just feeling like just really grungy, just people playing in a room. And I think it's fantastic.
So you didn't pocket anything?
No.
Not outside of guitars. Nothing on the joint is pocketed.
Nothing's pocketed.
Wow.
Yeah. I left.
And did
everything
your
is his.
dad play loosely, or was he locked?
I mean, I literally, when I sent, which, yeah, again, that's something else I'll get to in a moment here, but when I sent it to him, I was like, listen, you already play tight enough. I don't want you to try and perfect your like, I was like, legit, like, I want you to play this through. I just want you to, like, feel good with your performance, but do not try to perfect this. I'm begging you, leave it alone. And he did. He sent it to me, and it sounded like, you know, he probably did rough. You know, I had him, I think, redo one part just for the sake of I wanted it to feel a little bit differently, and it was like it was one thing. I think it was literally the bam bam ka bam bam ka. I wanted him to hit the hat twice. He was essentially just going psh, psh, ka, psh, psh, and I wanted psh, psh, ka, psh, 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 that secondary
With an
hat.
upbeat, yeah, upbeat in it.
Yeah, so that was like the only thing. Everything else was exactly the same. Like he sent me a demo. I was like, this is great. We're pretty much done here. So yeah, nothing's pocketed. I didn't fix anything in the computer in terms of the band.
Wow.
So yeah. And it's just you guys played it well. I just made sure we got a good recording and called it a day.
There you go.
So yeah. Yeah, I guess in terms of anything else guitar related, there is this chorus guitar which Chase brought up earlier that Bennett played, which is very, very Kurt Cobain. Right, this is playing on top of and I wrote that in the way that I did because Kurt Cobain was so obsessed with dominant sevens, and I think he made me obsessed with them too. You know, so there's that whole right? It's a sus4 to a dominant 7. And, you know, there's I think that's the correct key.
Yeah, that's right.
Because then it goes.
That's right.
Right, that dominant 7. That's one of my favorite parts of Heart Shaped Box is that right there. And on a guitar that sounds so good. So that was a huge part of the reason that I was so adamant about those dominant 7s there. Is that whole because without that little chorus guitar there, it sounds pretty much entirely just like a punk rock record, which is cool.
And that sus4, to your point, adds mystique. It adds like a mystery to it.
Yeah, totally.
There's like an emotion. There's an emotion that you're not getting without it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Bennett killed it. Now, what you'll probably see here is there's this little MIDI track, and what that is actually my original Omnisphere.
What?
Yeah. So this is the one, like, I suppose you could say fake part of the track. There's this Omnisphere patch, and it's literally, I think it's called, let's see, what's the patch called? I called it Leslie Guitar because that's essentially what it is, but let's see what Omnisphere says when it opens up here.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Leslified Strat. This was in the demo, but I liked the brighter tone of it, so it's just slightly in there, pretty much just as like air on top of the chorus guitar. So here's just the chorus guitar by itself, right, with that Omnisphere patch on the top. And I've got it panned almost entirely to the right. Right, it's just like a little extra, I suppose you could say, like, crispiness on the top. Yeah. So that's pretty much that. And then again, like I said, that color on top of these super grungy, heavy, almost punk rock sounding guitars, you get this. And that's, you know, that's pretty much it. And then you've got the final big thing, obviously, with the guitars is Bennett's solo. Which, and he even plays it like Kurt. I loved it so much. He played it like Kurt. It's a little messy. Like he pretty much did that, the beginning of the solo, he pretty much did in like one take, and we were good. And then we just figured out the rest of the solo, which he pretty much just shredded. I think we comped a few different takes of him shredding and piece them together, and that's the whole solo.
Right.
But
oh, I lost you. I lost you.
oh man, do you remember?
Oh, there you go. Your audio just came back. You were gone for like 30 seconds.
Oh, sorry. I literally wasn't even talking. I'm sorry. I was playing the song.
Oh.
Yeah, my bad. Did you say something? I'm sorry. Did you ask me something?
No, I didn't. You were, because I'm not watching the stream because it's off sync by like 15 seconds.
Got it. Oh, okay. My bad. Sorry. I didn't mean to leave you hanging there.
No, you were about to ask me, do I remember what?
Do you remember that little tremolo effect that Bennett used? Like he messed around with it earlier. It was like this like tremolo thing that he would speed up and slow down, and it had this really cool color, this really cool tone to it. Yeah,
that was just a tremolo that he was automating with his hand.
Exactly. He was literally he hit a note and then he like turned. So we actually threw that in at the tail end because I loved it. We didn't really have any other use for it in the song, but at the tail end on that final hit, I had him do that where he just played the landing power chord, and then he just turned that knob so that the speed of the tremolo went slower and slower. You were there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because that's here it is. Let me play it for you guys. It's so cool.
Yeah, that texture, that's the devil in the details that makes you go, wow.
Yeah. So that was like that's one of my favorite parts of that landing hit, is because you got all these guitars and then you just hear that extra little tone on top.
Right.
It's so cool. So freaking cool. So yeah, that's that's the guitars. That's pretty much it. And I'll get a little bit further into the mixing side of it in a few minutes here.
Yeah, I think we've covered everything.
I think we've
on
pretty
the
much covered
cards.
everything in terms of recording and playing the guitar part. So, yeah. Well, Chase, thank you for your input, and thank you once again for playing on this, because it sounds amazing, and it's thanks to you.
Yeah, of course, man. No,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, well, it was awesome. You're welcome to stick and chat. You're welcome to stay in the call if you wanna just keep talking about the rest of the track. But if you got stuff to do, then I won't keep you.
I do, but I'm gonna turn on the stream. I'm gonna hang up and I'll turn on the stream, and I'll stay in the chat.
Okay, sweet, sounds good. All right, well, thank you
All
once
right.
again, dude, and I'll talk to you later, man.
You got it, bro.
All right, bye. Yeah, so there you go. That's the guitars. Obviously, we spent a lot of time talking about that because that's one of the, primary leading parts of the song is that guitar. But like I said, I'll get into kind of how I mixed it. I know some people are interested. Now, you've already gotten pretty much 90% of how we got the tone, which I know some people were curious about. I've now shown you, but if you want to know about the final little touches I did to get it sitting where it is, that'll be coming momentarily. And like I said, if you have any questions, once I've wrapped up explaining everything on my end here, then I'm happy to answer any questions on anything I missed. So there were two Chases involved with this track. There was Chase Akers, who we were just talking with, who, like I said, played the Les Paul, and he played one of the three guitar parts on the track. And the other Chase is Chase Weimer, who played the bass part, which I will now show you guys just a little bit of that isolated. I pretty much wrote in the bass, and he just played it as is. He pretty much played the bass as I wrote it out. There's this whole... It's like this octave thing, which I kind of wrote in, intentionally kind of going after Chris Novoselic, I think that's how you say his last name, bass player for Nirvana, because he liked to play octaves a lot. Yeah, you've got... Yes, everybody follow Chase Akers on Instagram. Right, so that's your bass. We used a little bit of virtual bass amp. We did direct in with his bass, and like I said, it was a 6-string. I can't tell you the exact brand, I'd have to ask him, but it's a 6-string, and the reason being because of this chorus, which is in drop C, and his P bass wouldn't go this low right here. It wouldn't go that low, so he was like, I could tune down, but it would sound awful. So we pretty much, there's not much, as you probably even noticed earlier on in the track, there's not much like extra grunge amp sound on the bass. I could have done it, but honestly, I liked it as is, kind of similar to Heart Shaped Box if you listen to that track. Honestly, a lot of Nirvana stuff, most of the grunge is in the guitars, and the bass is pretty clean in terms of its tone. So I've got this virtual bass amp here, yeah, I'll get into the mixing stuff here shortly, but there's not much to say, I don't think. I guess one of the other big things is throw a little bit of a chorus on your bass. I do this a lot. It's a big thing that Andy Wallace, mix engineer for Nevermind, Nirvana's Nevermind, and plenty of other fantastic rock records from the time, like Rage Against the Machine, their first record. It's something that he would do, but honestly, I just throw chorus on basses all the time regardless. Now, it's not a heavy chorus, but it's there, and I do that a lot to give the bass a little bit of movement and stereo depth without, doing anything radical, right? So if I were to turn off that chorus, listen to it without the chorus. Now, if you're on good speakers, this will probably be more obvious, good speakers or headphones. But here it is without the chorus. Right, now I'm going to turn on the chorus in a second. On. Right. Right, so now there's like, it's just got a little bit more depth. It's not like It's not out here. It still feels here, but it feels like there's some third dimension to it, or a fourth dimension, whatever it may be. But yeah, that's pretty much the bass. You know, there's not much to it, but the bass is important. Listen to the guitars by themselves. They sound great, obviously, but right? Now let me add in the bass. Now the meat's there. Now it's like, oh, you know what I mean? Like now you got that bottom end from the bass. So never ever look over the bass. It is one of the most important instruments in the band, and everybody always ignores them. So there you go. Drums. All right, so let's talk about the drums. Drums are by Scott Williamson, my father, who is a remarkable session player. He is exceptionally good. I'm not saying this because he's my dad. I'm saying this because I know I'm right. He is very, very good at what he does. He can play so many things. And I sent him this track. He recorded it in his own studio, which he has gotten his room down to a science and getting it sounding good. Let me go ahead just for the sake of it. He sent me pictures to help a buddy of mine trying to figure out his drum record setup. He sent me some pictures of pretty much how he's got stuff set up at the moment. So let me just go ahead and show you guys some of these pictures. He has got a Ludwig kit. I couldn't tell you exactly all his stuff that he's using, but here's his overheads mics if you're interested in that. This is, you know, that's how he's getting. This is, I'll show you guys in a second what the overheads are doing. You know, this is his setup. These are his room. If you see right here, these are his room mics. Right here, these mics. He's got two of them on both sides, and then here's kit view. Here's his mics. Right here, you know, hat, mic, all that jazz. Anyway, so here's the drums. Right, and like I said, pretty much I sent it to him. I told him what I was going for. I gave him the demo drum so he could get a feel for how I'm wanting it generally played, but of course I wanted him to still do his own thing on it. And yeah, there was only one change I had for him, and pretty much the rest of this was him, and I don't know if he really did that many punches. Like I told him, I was like, I want it to feel pretty raw. Right, and with the track,
Look, that's okay. It's closing in constantly from day to day. To lay it on the line, it's closing in on me.
sick. Sounds so good. So yeah, and then I guess the extra thing that you guys might hear in there, in that first verse, is I programmed in a little bit of strings, and part of the reason I did this is to make people feel kind of that orchestral element from earlier in the video of Borderline Forever, but it's subtle, and I put an effect on it to really make it kind of feel like a dream, like, whoa, what's going on, right? So I've thrown a pedal board on it with rotophase and flanger. This is what it sounds like. It's also got Fresh Air. This is a new favorite plugin of mine. Right, in the mix.
But every week my life involves mentioning barrel blast.
Right, you've got that. And that's the last you hear of those strings, is right there. That's it. That's it. And then they go away forever, you know, because I don't need strings in my rock track. That's it. That's all I needed. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, you got, this is all Chase right here. He who wrote the vocals. So I wrote the melody, which I showed earlier. I had a scratch vocal. I'll show you right now. That kind of. Right. So I wrote the melody, and then he wrote a lot of the lyrics. I went back. It was kind of back and forth. We both kind of co-wrote the lyrics. He wrote the initial lyrics, and then I was like, how about we do this instead? How about we change this? You know, that kind of stuff. And then he'd be like, I kind of want to keep that the same, or yeah, that's great, let's change that. So it was constantly back and forth. So it was really a co-process on that. But in terms of the melody, I wrote that part at least. But lyrically, it was kind of both of us. So is that Scott or you or someone else? Oh, what I just showed, the scratch thing, that was me. I sung that. Yeah. So I guess that's probably good leeway to get into the vocals, which this is the first track that Scott has sent me on a new microphone. So he had been using, I want to say a Yeti microphone, like a Blue Yeti or something. Not a great microphone, but he just upgraded to a SM7B, and if you ask me, it makes all the farkin' difference. He sent me the vocals for this, and I think already the quality of it is substantially better than anything he'd sent me before. Yeah, in terms of the melody, I was super keen. I was such a huge fan of like I said, this whole song wears its Nirvana influences on its sleeve. I was a huge fan. I've always been a huge fan of Kurt Cobain's melodies. Kurt has got to be one of the greatest melody writers of the past 30 years plus. Honestly, like legitimately, honestly. And I was so I wanted to be able to write something that I felt was very kind of Kurt in its melody, but also very, very catchy. I think I succeeded, hopefully. I feel like it the melody ended up, for the verse at least, ended up being very strong, and it's certainly my favorite part of the track. And largely, you know, I'm not like thinking about like the music theory aspects of this very hard, but let me remember how to play this song real quick. So it's largely, I know I'm probably disappearing from the webcam. It's largely, I'm not thinking largely about like music theory here, but a lot of it is one thing. So like, you know, with Smells Like Teen Spirit, you've got almost this haunting element to the verse melody. You know, I could wow, way to blow that one, every note but the one that it should be. Right? That is a great melody. That is a fantastic, it's very, very catchy, very strong, and it's got this kind of haunting element to it. I wanted to grab something like that, you know, not to mention obviously the whole song, the whole element, you know, Scott was going for intimidating, a little haunting, a little worrying, self-aware almost, and so I wanted to grab that, and I felt like, again, that kind of that Nirvana, that grunge sound did a very good job of that. That was part of the reason I decided to go with this style. Obviously the other reason, because I wanted to write something that people went, wow, Garrett can do that? Yeah, I can. But I really wanted to go for that haunting element. But another thing that Kurt does really well is he loves to sing the major third of the chord. And you'll hear that here. So if I go right, that's the major third. Major thirds and dominant sevens, huge part of Kurt Cobain's writing. which I love because he does it in a way where this is part of the reason that I feel like when people say major chords and major chords are happy, minor chords are sad, it's not quite true. I think it completely depends on the context, and I think it totally depends on how you play it out. There's a lot of major chords in Nirvana's music, but I don't think anybody would be calling it incredibly happy music. It's all about how you apply it. Major chords and minor chords can be happy and sad respectively, but again, I think it all depends on context, So so I think part of it is that, and also the other thing with the melody is that kind of that voice leading, if you will. It just naturally moves down really nicely half a step there, right? Right? Right, there's another major third right there. And then what you'll notice though is with the guitars, what I wrote in is to go. So instead of going every time it goes bum, bum, right, which gives it a little bit of like tension and dissonance. So that's pretty much what I was going for with the melody. With something very strong and catchy, but also again has that haunting element to it. And that Kurt Cobain, that grunge element to it. So here is Scott's vocals isolated. Now that I have spoken enough and you guys are like, shut up, I want to hear Scott sing by himself.
I just want to break the mold, to not follow a path. But every week my life involves mentioning Barrel Blast. It's cool.
Right, so there you go. There's that verse right there. Lots of sends, as you can see here. One element is again similar to Kurt Cobain. I'm sending him to the same chorus effect as the bass. Here's without that chorus.
I just want to break the mold, to not follow a path.
Here's with it on.
But every week my life involves mentioning Barrel Blast.
It adds like this really cool movement, which was very again, Andy Wallace, mix engineer for Nevermind. He was very big on that. He liked doing those choruses. You'll hear it very prominently on Bloom off that record, but he used it quite a bit. And then is that reverb? Yes, there's definitely reverb. There's different reverb. So you've got your stereo delay, which is how you're hearing this
a path. But every week my
and you can hear it a little bit subtly even when he's singing, but it's turned up really quite a bit on Path and Blast. And then I'm using Verb Suite, which is from Slate. This is I'm using Wide Rich Vocal Room patch, and I may have adjusted it a little bit, but that's one of my reverbs. I've got another reverb on top of that. Lexi Vocal Hall. Let me go ahead, actually. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get rid of all of these. Let me just show you without any of those sends. Here you go.
I just want to break the mold, to not follow a path.
Okay, so now let's go ahead and add in one by one. So here's that first verb.
I just want to break the mold, to not follow a path.
Right, so it's that is actually, that's not a verb, that's my slap delay. So this is a slap delay, is essentially a delay that happens immediately after the vocal, and you just hear a little bit of it, and it almost sounds like a sound bouncing off of a wall, right? So it kind of gives you that feeling of him being in a room now, right?
I just want to break the mold.
And it's thick in the vocal too, so listen to it again without that.
I just want to break the mold, to not follow a path.
Okay, now let's listen to it with that slap delay back in.
I just want to break the mold, to not follow a path.
Now, yeah, it's thicker. Now it kind of sounds like he's in a room. And all that is, if you can see here, I'm cutting out quite a bit of the high end, so that's not getting in the way And I'm cutting some of the low end, so it's not like, you know, fighting with any of the super low frequencies. But that's essentially it, right? It's a stereo delay technically, so one is hitting at 71 milliseconds after the audio signal, the other's hitting 91 milliseconds, right? So you get a little bit of a stereo effect there. Let me just literally, I'm gonna unsolo this. Oh, and clearly I've used a slap delay on a lot of other things here. Right? So that's my slap delay send. You're hearing like guitars and other stuff going on. And that's because I use the slap delay across quite a few other, and I'll show you guys that in a bit here. But to stay on topic here, you got the slap delay. So here's our next send.
I just want to break the mold to not follow a path.
Right? Listen to it again without that new verb. That's kind of like a larger room verb on top of it.
I just want to break the mold to not follow a path.
Okay, off.
I just want to break the mold to not follow a path.
Okay, so there you go. There's your next verb. And then we've got a haul verb here, which is a bit of a longer haul, or a longer verb with a bit more of a tail. I've got these down not too high because I don't want them to really get in the way. They're not. Here's the big thing about reverb. There are points in which it is an effect, and it's very cool as an effect, but I like to usually treat reverb as something to give an instrument, you know, or a vocal or something, space to live in, right? Reverb should be used as a tool to create space, as opposed to a tool to create an effect. Now, again, there's a lot of instances, especially in a lot of modern pop recording, where it is used as an effect, and it's very cool. But in this instance, you know, I'm not trying to spike that reverb up way too much. Now, it may even seem louder without the rest of the track there, but it kind of, some of it gets a little, it's not as obvious with the whole mix. So, again, here's that next haul verb, like I said.
I just want to break the mold to not follow a path.
Okay, and here's without it on again so you can hear what it's doing.
I just want to break the mold
Back on.
to not follow a path.
Right, so now it feels like he's almost like, he's just in a space that's like, it could be a stage, you know, for all we know. But again, it's not like turned way the frick up, you know. I've got it where, again, the whole purpose is to make his voice sound like it lives in a space, and especially in this situation where it's a dream state. Again, stuff like that chorus effect, and reverbs and stuff almost are being used also to give this feeling of him being in this area that is not the real world, you know. So then here's the next send, which is the chorus, which I already showed you guys. So here's without it on.
I just want to break the mold
And on.
to not follow a path.
Right? I think that changes quite a bit.
I just want to break the mold to not follow a path.
Right? And then finally, we've got this vocal delay, which is this extra kind of soft delay in the background.
I just want to break the mold to not follow a path.
Right? I turn it way the frick up there. You know, it's like an extra little color on top. But again, here's without it on.
I just want to break the mold to not follow a path.
That's what, yeah.
But every week,
And that's all my vocal sends. That's pretty much what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing for most of the vocals here. Let me go ahead and show you guys the talky part here.
It starts off the same for every week and ends with a game on PS3. Pick something right out of the drawer, then hold it up against the floor. Spew some junk about no sex, then a vegan comes just to say gex. At the desk look like a hoarder, surrounded by some big blue border.
I just want to break the mold to...
Yeah. So that's that part. A lot of people have asked, am I singing on this? Because they can't quite tell, which is honestly a good thing if they can't quite tell. Yes, I'm technically singing on this. I am adding in extra vocal stacks to thicken the sound in a couple of areas. So, the thing is though, I'm trying to make it not obvious. I'm trying to make it feel like Scott's pretty much the one singing all of this. I'm not, I wanted it to sound like Scott singing, not Garrett and Scott are singing. So this is the It's Closing In segment right here.
It's closing in. It's closing in.
Right. And with the track, it's even less obvious. So then you've also got I'm on the whole chorus vocals, right?
I'm
Oh, I was off by a key. Nailed it, Garrett. I don't have perfect pitch.
I'm on the border of starting over.
Right, and the reason that I did stacks here is just because I want you to listen to this with only Scott's vocals. It's just a little too small, right?
I'm on the border.
So let me do it this way. Let me mute myself in the track so you guys can hear just with Scott. Listen, just Scott.
I'm on the border. Does my whole life need a giant watermark? Of starting. I truly really never know.
Right, now, if I did stick with just having that vocal, I would have turned him up. But between me and him, you know, you have to kind of level it out. So here's with my stacks in.
I'm on the border. Does my whole life need a giant watermark? Of starting. I truly really never noticed.
Right, so it thickens it. It gives it a little bit more width. It gives it more power. And you know, that's it. I'm not trying to do too much there. I'm not trying to get in the way. I certainly am not trying to, you know, I wanted it to really sound like it was just Scott singing. But yeah, here's all the vocals in the chorus.
I'm on the border. Does my whole life need a giant watermark? Of starting. I truly really never noticed something so stark. Why is it this? These are some deep questions. This is getting too philosophical for me. From feeling like I'm suffocating. To lay it on the line, it's closing in on me.
Right. You know?
Closing in. It's always been this way? It's closing in. Not sure if that's okay. It's closing in. Constantly from day to day. To lay it on the line, it's closing in on me.
Yeah, and then you got that final big delay there, which you don't hear in the video. You know, this final hit is only in the standalone. But, yeah, that's this one extra little delay here. Why is it not selecting it? Is that not...
Closing in on me.
Oh, it's being sent to the whole... No, wait. I don't even know what I did. Where the frick is this delay? Well, here's the delay right here. Pedal board.
It's closing in on me.
I've got an amp on top of the pedal board. So I got that delay from the pedal board and then an amp on top of it to give it some like mid-tone bite. And then I'm actually, there's this, okay. That's without this on. What this is this is a plugin from Waves called Real ADT. ADT is a process that they used to do with tape. It kind of has a flangey kind of sound to it, which is essentially duplicating the tape signal, and then that tape signal will probably just, honestly, I think a lot of it was just simply tape artifact, where it wouldn't move perfectly. There'd be some variation in speed, right? Well, emulating it and actually putting it back in gives a lot of character, and it also is a great, unique, different kind of way to give some stereo depth, right? So I've got the original signal here panned hard left, and the ADT signal, the duplicated signal essentially, panned hard right? And I've got the drive set up on both of them. Let me play without it again. So here's without it on.
In on me.
Right. It's a cool sound, but it's a little small, you know, it's a little tiny, kind of too telephony. Let's turn that back on. Now listen.
Closing in on me.
Right, now it sounds a little larger. Right, and that delay is essentially just something with the like feedback turned way the frick up, as you can see here. And then to top it all off, just a little bit of channel EQ, cutting out all the low ends and bringing up some of the mid, just to give it that final bite. And that's pretty much that final delay that you hear. So here it is in the mix.
On the line, it's closing in on me.
Right? You hear the artifacts there. It's awesome. It's so cool. Anyways, so yeah, that's that final little effect there. Yeah, that's pretty much Scott's vocals. You know, like I mentioned earlier with the chorus melody, a lot of the reason I came up with the chorus melody as it is because of number one, because Chase and Bennett had that idea to throw in that little bend. Let me show you. Let me solo the guitars again so you can hear that. Right. So that gave me the idea to sing with it. I'm on the board, right? But obviously the other big influence there was Heart Shaped Box, because Kurt sings with his guitar bends there and the chorus as well. So yeah. So before we get into questions, I want to just kind of go through some of the stuff I did for the mix, with if anybody's, you know, curious about any of that. So we'll start. I already kind of explained this opening part. There's not much to it, you know, it's these samples, and I just kind of, you know, some EQ there to make sure everything sits properly. A big thing that you probably didn't notice, but is here, is this gain plugin, which is currently not on. This is on my master bus. Now what this is literally, if I turn it on, listen, if you're on headphones, you're definitely going to hear this. Listen, here it is without it on.
Border. I just want to break the mold.
Here's it on.
Follow a path.
So it literally just made everything mono. I just put everything mono. Now, why would I do that? Well, the reason is I like to mix a lot of the track. I'll do a lot of my mixing actually in mono. Well, Garrett, it doesn't sound as good that way. Yes, the reason I do that is because I want to make sure that all of my levels, stereo imaging can fool you. And so a lot of times you may think certain things sound really good in your ears from a stereo aspect, but it may be way too freaking loud in reality, but you can't tell, or too quiet. So what I will do is I will often monitor in mono, so I know it will give me a very honest image of just literally, not image I suppose, but just it very honestly tells me where everything is sitting in the mix, how loud something is, if something needs to be louder or quieter. And you know, I've learned with mono that certain things that are just very heavily stereo, they're not going to be as obvious when you put it in mono. They're just going to be quieter, and that's okay. But I will monitor largely a lot when I'm mixing. I'll monitor a lot in mono to make sure everything sounds good, dead center, you know. Because the other thing is, here's the other thing. You can pan something hard right and go, oh, now I can hear it in the mix, right? Because now it's only in hard right, while some other instruments in hard left. Well, that's actually not solving your problem, though, of where it is sitting in the mix. All that's doing is sitting in the mix from a frequency aspect. I mean, like literally just the frequency spectrum. And so it's fooling your ear into thinking you can hear it clearly, but there's a lot of instances where it won't be heard like this, right? And so it's not as I don't think panning something is immediately your best solution. I think it can help in a lot of instances, but basically what I'm getting at is that can fool your ear into thinking that, oh, now it's clear in the mix. Well, monitoring in mono will really help, because then you can really hear, you know, is this element that I've put in the right ear still can I still, does it still sit well? Do I like the way it sounds with this other sound that I put in the left ear, you know? Yeah, I think that's the reason I monitor largely in mono when I'm mixing. In terms of other stuff, you know, you've got a lot of people were mentioning how they like the way the drums sound. Now, as I think a lot of you probably know, and if you don't, then I'm telling you right here, right now, a large part of how something is going to sound good is literally getting a good sound from the start. Not only just getting a good sound from the start, but above that, getting good players from the start. That really good players trump everything else. If your players are good, you're already at least halfway, if not more than halfway there. So, you know, my dad is both a incredible drummer, but on top of that, he has gotten his room down to a science and he knows how to get a good sound. So a lot of what I'm doing in mixing is just giving it that extra little bit of oomph that it needs, right? I am making it all work together. But the good sound is already there, right? So for those of you that don't know about recording drums, you know, there's a lot of different ways to record drums. But one of the ways that you're going to see a lot is this setup, which is basically you've got your kick mic, you've got your snare top, your microphone miking the top of the snare, and your microphone miking the bottom of the snare. The bottom one generally is getting more of the rattle from the actual snare drum, from the snare, the actual snare, the rattling sound. Yeah, if you know anything about drums, you get what I'm saying. If not, I apologize. Clearly, I'm not always great at explaining things. And you got your hat mic. I'm actually, as you can see, this is turned down pretty far. It's only, the hat mic is very optional for me personally. There's a lot of points in which I don't even need it. You got your tom mics, right? Your microphone. So he's got two toms here. Your high tom and your floor tom. And then overheads. It says OH, which stands for overheads. That's your microphone sitting above your two microphones, your stereo microphones. Though you could do mono, but in most cases, your stereo microphone's sitting above your drum set. And then your room microphones, which are getting the room sound. But yeah, just to kind of show you guys what that all sounds like isolated and then put together. Here's your kick by itself. Let me get a better spot here. Right? Now, here's your snare top. Right, and I've definitely got a reverb on that. Here's your snare bottom. Right? It's getting that rattle, that's the snare, you know what I mean? Hat, tom, pan hard left, tom 2, floor tom, right? Overheads. Right, this is getting essentially the whole kit, but the big thing that it's doing is it's getting the cymbals, you know. And then here's your room mics. Right? Okay, so all that together. So there's a lot of stuff going on. I won't probably spend too much time talking about this unless people are really interested. In fact, probably what I'm going to do is if you guys have questions about how I got this sound or anything specifically, I am more than happy to answer, but I will not get into that without, I suppose, being asked anything, just for the sake of theoretical time and, you know, not wanting to waste your guys' time on any of this. But if you're interested in any of that and would like to know, I'm happy to answer. A big thing here actually with the mix, I thought those were like VST. No, everything is real here. The only thing that is not real is this tiny, the intro's got some samples, and there's this tiny little thing that's hidden under the mix. Everything else here is real. Pretty much everything you're hearing is real. And not only real, but not messed with. Like I said, nothing was pocketed, nothing was fixed in post. We just got good takes and called it there. Good takes, good tone, everything's real. So, yeah. How long did it take from concept to final mix? That's a good question. Which again, I'll answer some of this stuff more in momentarily. But let's see. When was the first demo? First demo was March of this year. So I probably started writing it late February, early March, somewhere around there. Is there a bass chart? There's not a bass chart. But will I upload an instrumental? Yes, I will. To show you guys one other thing, and I kind of got this. There's this track. There's this super cool track from the 90s called Black the Sky by King's X. Fantastic mix. I strive to have a mix that good. And something I noticed is that he really, Brendan O'Brien, the guy that mixed it and produced it, I believe. Don't quote me on that part though. I'm not 100%. But he, his guitars weren't perfectly panned LR. Now this track is pretty primarily LR, left, right stacks of guitars. But something that I kind of took from him is that in that mix of Black the Sky, it sounds like the guitars are more to the left. You still hear a little bit in the right. You definitely still hear stuff in the right ear, but it's more primarily in the left ear. You might even be hearing the drums a little bit more to the right. And it really gives everything this space without being drastic. You know, it just makes you feel like you're actually sitting in that room and hearing the guitars over here and the drummer over here, right? And I love that. And so I decided to kind of apply that myself when I started mixing the guitars. So I literally, as you'll see here, I've got stereo pan set up on that. What it says LP, that's Les Paul, that's Chase's guitar, and you'll see right here the P90, that is P90 pickups, it's the PRS, that's Bennett's guitar, right? So I imagined how I actually sat there listening to them, which is like this, and Bennett was over here, and Chase was over here. So I was like, well, according to that, Bennett would be a little bit more in the right ear for me, and Chase would be a little bit more in the left ear. So that's what I did. So these are all the bus. So again, these are the tracks, and I put them all on one group, one mix bus, or not mix bus, but guitar bus, right? This one bus send right here. It's all grouped for those of you that don't know much about bus sends, right? So then the grouped track with all these other tracks under it, that is what I'm panning a little bit more to the left on Chase's end and a little bit more to the right on Bennett's end, right? So you've got, there's Chase, here's Bennett. And together. Right, and then of course, as you guys know, there's also Josh playing, kind of covering those mid-tones there a little bit more, and he's just dead center, right? Well, not dead center, he's perfectly left and right, but you get my point. And that's how that happened. The other thing I would say, I am very adamant about the slight panning decisions because I want things to really feel like they live in a room, right? So what I've actually intentionally done here is I think a lot of people think, let's just put the snare dead center. Well, with a kit, in fact, let me go ahead and pull back up that picture of my dad's kit. And this goes for any kit, but just so you guys have an image here. Where is it? Right here. You'll notice, if we were to imagine the center to be right here, right? This is the snare. The snare's a little bit off to the side, right? It's not perfectly center, right? So if we were to imagine that the drums in a space, the drums would be, the snare would be a little bit more to the left, right? And I've got the hat set up like that too. You'll see the hat here is panned quite a bit further to the left, right? That's my hat mic. But in terms of the snare, ever so slightly, you'll see here, I've panned them a little bit to the left, just a little bit, but they are. They're not perfectly center. You know, That's intentional. And then this is a lot of people love to do this with toms, where tom 1 will be hard left and tom 2, floor tom will be like hard right, panned hard right. Anyway, so that's a little other thing. And then the one other thing I would really, I cannot stress enough. Writing the faders. I think a lot of people who are interested in mixing are very adamant about compression and just having things compressed to control volume. Compression, that is largely part of what compression is used for. However, the more you compress, the less dynamic range you get from whatever that signal is, right? Because now everything is kind of becoming equal volume. And the reality is, sometimes that's got a great effect. Sometimes that's really cool to use. But for me personally, most of the time, I don't want things compressed too hard, because you want to feel those loud moments versus those softer moments, right? Right? You want to hear that. You don't want it to just all be like right? That doesn't feel as good. The dynamics are all the same, and you don't feel it the same way, right? So a lot of what is done is writing the faders, as they used to call it. Nowadays, you know, us millennials and Gen Zers would say automation, but I still like to say writing the faders, even if I'm not technically writing the faders. Writing the faders just meaning, basically, as you're mixing, you will record in you changing the volume on that fader, right? That's you writing the fader, right? And you would change the volume as you go, and I think that's very important. So there is this big thing. Are you running anything in parallel? That's a good question. Not really. I'm sure there's stuff. In fact, actually, maybe on the vocal. That's a great question. Let me get back to you in a second on that. One thing in particular is you'll see right here. Now, a lot of it. Look at all this. All these yellow lines, that is me changing the volume. A big thing for me is I want to, on those big hits, I turn up the cymbal for a split second here. So you see, this is my overhead. So this is where I'm getting most of the cymbal sound, also from the rooms here. So you see I'm turning that up too. Right, turning it up just for a second, because what that does is really give that oomph into the next section. Right, so you feel it more, as opposed to just it all being the same volume. You'll even see that I actually turned up the kick for that front hit, just to give it really some hit with the right. You know, you'll see I'm writing the faders on the bass here. There's quite a few spots where I felt like even with some compression on it, I wanted to turn them up or turn them down. So I actually meticulously went in and messed with that. So there's points in which I'm turning up the volume or immediately turning it down on the bass. Right, you can literally, so here's my mouse, follow the mouse, woo, over here, see the fader right here? Watch what happens on the bass over the course of this. Right? So that's, I cannot stress enough, I think writing the faders is one of, volume and panning, a lot of people think, oh, fancy plugins, ooh, EQ, ooh, compression. No, F all that, bro. The first thing that you need to figure out when you're trying to mix, volume and panning, 100%. That is 75% of your mix, honestly. Like, legit, I even... Joshua sent me some stuff. I threw it in. I did like a very general mixing, which was literally, when I say general mixing, I mean literally volume and panning. And he was like, man, I don't know how, but you got that sitting so well. I didn't do anything except for volume and panning. That is at least 75% of the battle with mixing. Volume and panning. The rest of it, EQ, compression, very important. That's definitely useful. It's going to be very important for you, but the biggest thing is to get things sitting correctly, volume and panning wise, especially volume wise, really. But yeah, so you'll see here a lot of writing. I'm doing a ton of writing on the faders with Scott's stuff. A lot, like look at how crazy this is. And a lot of the reason is literally because, you know, the way he performed his vocals were actually kind of hard to mix with a rock record, you know, because a lot of what he's doing is more talky as opposed to, say, more aggressively screamy, like, say, Kurt Cobain or Dave Grohl or Chris Cornell or something like that, right? Just a rock vocal, right? So I'm having to do a lot of crazy kind of mixing or automation here to really make sure he's as clear as I can possibly make him with stuff this aggressive. For those of you that didn't hear the vocals by themselves, I'm seeing you guys in chat. Let me real quick. I'll go ahead. I'll play them again for you guys. I will say if you miss anything that you want to hear, then I would definitely check out the VOD, which I should be posting probably later. But here's some of the vocals by themselves.
Border. I just want to break the mold, to not follow a path. But every week my life involves mentioning Barrel Blast.
And here's the chorus.
I'm on the border. Does my whole life need a giant watermark? Of starting. I truly really never noticed something so stark? Why is it this? These are some deep questions. This is getting too philosophical for me. From feeling like I'm suffocating. To lay it on the line, it's closing in on me.
Yeah. And to give you guys a little bit, I guess I can show you guys what I'm doing with, so I already showed you guys the sends that I use. I'm a little messy here with how I'm doing this, but I can also show you just the general. I'll show you the verse. Well, we'll do the verse, and I'll show you guys this. So this is you know what? This is what I'm gonna do. All of this off. This is the vocal as he sent it to me before I did anything.
I just want to break the mold, to not follow a path.
Okay, this is with all of it on. All of it on.
I just want to break the mold, to not follow a path.
So what did I do? Well, I already walked you guys through those sends, so I won't do that again, but I'll at least give you guys this part.
I just want to break the mold, to not follow a path.
Right, so what did I do? So let's start with step one here, which is my SSL channel. I use this all across this track. SSL E channel. A lot of hardcore nerds are like, G channel's best for rock, E channel was best for pop stuff. Well, I don't have G channel. I don't care enough to get it. E channel's fine. There is definitely a difference in their tone, but I'm using E channel. With this vocal right here, I'm cutting some of the low end, right? So all the way up to 145. It's actually not, I'm not cutting way too much. A lot of low end I'm keeping in so that you still get the body from his vocal, right? And then what I'm doing is I'm turning up the high end. So listen to this. I'm gonna turn it back down. I'm gonna turn it up to 6. So here's without that high end in.
I just want to break the mold, to not follow a path.
This is without it there.
I just want to break the
and back
mold, to not follow a path.
Right, so that just brings in a little bit of that top end, that presence, right? And then I'm bringing up a little bit of like a top mid-range kind of frequency here around 2.5. Just gives a little bit more presence to his vocal, but not a lot of it. You know, I'm not doing any heavy. Really, the most heavy EQ I did was the top end. It's because he's singing through an SM7B, which is a great mic, but it's a little bit softer, right? It's a little bit. The signal from that microphone is not very bright. It doesn't have a lot of presence by itself, so you kind of have to dial that high end back in. And then here I'm cutting out just a little bit of just some lower mid, not really, just kind of straight right down the middle mid end or mid frequencies, because sometimes around 900 to 1000 hertz that can kind of get in the way and be an annoying frequency for certain vocals like Scott's and mine. It also depends on the room you're singing in, but I went ahead and cut some of that out. And then I've got this, which is literally just some extra. You'll see right here, 285 hertz which is a fairly low frequency. It's like low mids, and I'm turning up just a tad bit of it so you get a little bit more body. So here's without that in.
I just want to break the mold to not follow a path.
Let me turn it back up.
I just want to break
It's subtle.
the mold to not follow a path.
It's subtle, but it's just a little bit. It's giving him just a little bit more body there, as I like to call it. And then the other thing is I always like to turn on the analog switch. I like the analog elements of the SSL, you know. Otherwise, you know, a lot of this I might just do in channel EQ. But I did anyway. I added a whole other, just for some good fine tuning. I do have an extra channel EQ on top.
I just want to break.
Right, so here's without that channel EQ on.
I just want to break the
In fact, before I do that, let me show you the track once again without that SSL channel on. So here's without anything on it now.
I just want to break the mold.
Right, and here's with that SSL channel on now.
I just want to break the mold.
Right, so that's already an improvement. So now let's add that channel EQ in. I'm adding in even more top end because, again, those SM7Bs, they're soft microphones. Again, adding in a little bit extra high mid bite just to give him a little bit more presence. And then this area around 600 hertz was really bugging me, so I took out quite a bit of that. So here's without me taking out the 600 hertz.
I just want to break the mold tonight.
Right, now let me take it all the way back down to the -8 dB.
I just want to break the mold to not follow.
You hear that frequency? That was bugging me, so I pulled it back.
I just want to break the mold to not follow a path.
I took care of that, and then again added a little bit. So pretty much I'm doing what the SSL is doing. I'm just adding a whole bunch. I probably could have just done all of it in the SSL. Sometimes I move quickly and I just do crazy stuff. So on top of that now is this, and this is when we start to really get that.
I just want to break the mold.
Now he really feels like he's up on the mic, right? So what am I doing? First thing is I've got this FG73. Now this is Slate's virtual mix rack. This is fantastic. I love using this thing. The FG73 is an emulation of a hardware Neve 1073. It's got a great little harmonic distortion to it that I really like. And I wanted to put it on Scott's vocal here. So there's that, and that's feeding then into this, which is FG Stress, which is their emulation of the Distressor, which is one of the greatest compressors ever made, if you ask me. And their emulation, I think, sounds really good. I love the tone again. I use it so much. I use the Distressor over so much crap. So here's, again, without any of that stuff on.
I just want to break the mold to not follow.
Here's with it on.
I just want to break the mold to not follow a path.
Right, now it just feels like he's more in your face, right? And you can see here, it's not like this meter's going all the way to here. I'm not compressing super hard, but I'm definitely compressing his vocal, you know?
I just want to break.
And for the person that asked about parallel, yes, I am. Like I thought, technically, I've got now, it's, you know, these days it's super easy because parallel is essentially the mix knob. And I've got the mix knob at 70%. So I am compressing, but then also I'm keeping in a little bit of that original signal. So
I just want
it's not at 100%.
break the mold.
Right? So there's that. And then on top of that, virtual tape. This is Virtual Tape Machines. This is also from Slate. Love this thing to death. This thing is all over this track as well. And it just adds again some more girth, some meat to his vocal, and it also, I think, compresses it a little bit just naturally from like the way tape machines work, and I think
I just want to break the mold tonight.
It just adds a great color on top. Here's without it on.
I just want to break the mold.
And here's with it on.
I just want to break the mold tonight.
Sounds so good. And then on top of that, we've got this. This is I only started using this like recently, Fresh Air. It's also available with Slate. This thing is beautiful. It literally, as it's called, adds air to your vocal. It puts a whole other. It's very, very nice. It literally, you turn up a couple knobs and you're like, wow, there's presence in my vocal without it being harsh and gross sounding. So here's the signal again without it.
I just want to break the mold.
Here's with it on.
I just want to break the mold.
Problem
to
solved.
not follow.
I love Fresh Air. I'm a huge fan. Before Fresh Air, there was a thing, and I still do use it from time to time, but not as much now. There's a thing in Slate Mixrack called Air EQ, and it kind of does almost the same thing, but Fresh Air actually gives me one extra control, which I really love, which is this mid-air, which is fantastic. It's really, really good. And then finally, I have this, and this is just, I guess there were a couple extra frequencies that were still bugging me, so I cut them. And I guess I added a little bit more mid. Yeah, so honestly, if you ask me, you probably could have done 90% of the EQ stuff in here. I don't know if these extra 2 channel EQs were totally necessary, but, you know, whatever. And then, so
I just want to break the mold to not follow.
So we went from this.
I just want to break
to this.
The mold to not follow a path.
And then with the sense.
I just want to break the mold to not follow a path.
And there you go. There's your vocal. That's pretty much how I got the vocal going. That is the vocal. The guitars I didn't really do much to. There's some tape emulation. You know, I'm definitely you definitely got your J37 going on quite a few of these to really give them that warmth and that body. Bass, I've got a console EQ on. Now I learned a trick. Actually, I didn't use it here. Just kidding. I use it actually on the anime track, which is funny. But here, I did not use that trick I learned. But console EQ is an emulation of the Neve, I believe the 1073 as well, which is such a good console. And this Logic's emulation, I love the way that it colors bass. So here's the bass without anything. We'll just keep the bass amp on since that was part of how we recorded it. Right here is with the console EQ on. Woo! Yeah. Already liking the way it sounds better. And then on top of that, we got the compressor. I'm using the Vintage Opto, which is an emulation of the classic LA2A. And this is just helping to, you know, I'm compressing a little bit harder here, not super hard. Right, my attack is at 32 milliseconds. This is kind of slow. 120 millisecond release, so that it takes it a second for it to pull back, so you're getting more of the sustain from the bass that way, but you're not getting any maybe front end picking noises that you may not want, you know. But yeah, I love the Logic does great emulations themselves, honestly, and their emulation of the LA2A, or imitation is probably a better word. I like the color of it. On top of that, we've got this. I'm cutting out just a little bit of like low mids here that was bugging me, bringing up a little bit of the top end here to give it a little bit more presence, but cutting out the absolute top end, right? And then to top it all off, again, virtual tape. So here's without that virtual tape. Dude, this thing is a game changer for me, man. So here's with it on. Holy mother. Praise Jesus, Lord in heaven. Thank God for tape emulations. Holy crap. Like that thing changes. Like the moment I put that on and I'd make a couple adjustments, I'm like, that's it. Bass sounds great. Whoo! Right? So that with the drums. Right? And you know, I could go through all the drums. I'm not going to because that's a lot, but one thing I will say is on the drum bus, so again on the group of them, I'm using the SSL compressor, mix bus compressor. I've got the analog on Listen to this without the compressor on. I think it makes a big difference. You doing any side chaining? Not really, no. I don't recall any side chaining on this track. So again, like I said, let me turn off both of these. I believe all this is doing, I think this is just a limiter. Yeah, it's just a limiter. Here's without those on here. Right, here's with it on. It just, now it's really in your face. That mix compressor, I think, changes everything. Listen again, here's without it on. Again, it already sounds good. But here's with it on. Now you really feel that kick, you know, now the kick really hits. My ratio, but I'm not, but like, look at the meter here. It's not going that hard. Right? Negative 3 dB tops, right? It's not hitting like super duper hard. You know, but I've got ratio 2:1. My attack is it's at the slowest one, 30 milliseconds, because I really want the transient to really come through before the compressor tries to pull anything back, right? And then my release is super fast too, so that it pulls back pretty quickly. So I'm not losing a lot of information, but it's pulling back just enough to really, really make it just smack right in the front there, you know? And it feels so good. Right? Right? There you go. So that the SSL compressor, big part of the drum sound, I feel like. Like I said, the solo, I made the drastic mistake of not recording it the way I should have. I really wish, I know exactly how I could have gotten it to sound, it would have been a simple mic movement and I would have been good to go. But I was an idiot, and this is what happens. So I had major EQ work that I did on it just to get it feeling right in the mix. And then I've also got this console EQ on it. Again, I love the console EQ and the way it colors. And then extra, I've also set this to slower tape speed to also soften the top. It was just way too bright. It was way too sharp sounding. So yeah, and you know, that's this. Bennett did a great job playing that part. He sounded so great on that. I guess one extra thing about the vocals that I forgot to mention is I actually did these whispery vocals, which I've done this before. I actually do this a lot where I'll whisper my vocal as a stack on top to give some extra air and get more syllabants presence in the track, in the vocal.
It's closing in.
Right, all the bottom end is completely cut out. I've turned up the fresh air so you really get that airy sound. It's a little bit intentionally creepy though in this situation though, right? Because what I'm doing is,
it's closing in.
Right, it's just an extra little thing on top. Without it,
it's closing in.
With it on,
it's closing in.
Ooh, right, yeah. Anyway, so there's that. Was the bass recorded a Jazz or P bass? It was a 6-string. I don't know exactly what brand or anything. But it was a 6-string, and it was because the chorus was drop C, and a P bass couldn't hit this note right here. The P bass couldn't hit that, and he was like, if I tune down, it's not going to sound great. So we used a 6-string. So yeah, I think I've finally, after 2 hours, covered pretty much everything. But like I said, if you guys have questions, this is the time to ask, because I'm sure there's stuff that I missed or stuff that I forgot to talk about. So questions encouraged right now. But otherwise that's about it, I think. It was a lot of fun to work on. A lot of fun to work on. I'm so excited to get this one released and get this one out there. So yeah. But yeah, if anybody has any questions, now's the time. Will you be accepting any questions about other songs you've made? During this stream, probably not. Are you okay with people making remixes, mashups of your original music? I mean, it's fine so long as it's not monetized. We'll be on Spotify. Yeah, everybody keeps asking this. I can't give any answer about that right now. I'm so sorry. I'm glad you guys want it on Spotify. I'm glad you guys like it so much, but I cannot give any answers on that right now. I'm very sorry. There will not be a vocals only version. No, there will not. There will be an instrumental version though. Have you already gone through Scott's vocals? I have, yes. If you missed that, you can probably watch the VOD later. You plan to break down any other songs? Probably. I mean, yeah, probably. But I don't know what or when. You know, it's usually like the big stuff that just released and whatnot. Do I have a favorite part of the song? Yes. My favorite part is the verse melody. It's this whole part of the verse.
Border. I just want to break the mold to not follow a path.
That's my favorite part of the track. For sure, and it's largely because I love the melody there. I was very happy with the melody that I wrote there, and I love the way the guitars sound there. Will there be an extended version? No, this is the longest version you're getting. I'm very sorry to tell you. Do you plan on making more songs in this style? Yeah, I get the opportunities, absolutely. Is there gonna be a Bandcamp release? Not sure about that. Yeah, like I said, I can't really answer for any of that stuff right now. Do you have any versions of the song with older lyrics, and if so, are we able to hear them? That's a good question. Not really. Scott gave me some ideas. I could probably, let me see if I can find any of what he had written. Hold on. Closing in lyrics. Does this have the older stuff in it? No. I don't know if I have. I actually am not sure if I have any files of older lyrics. I know we changed some stuff. Like for instance, we changed the pre-chorus like a little bit. I wrote he had an original line that he wasn't really feeling, so I wrote the whole in like my virginity, I'm worried this 1080p outlines here for infinity. If I were to specify anything else I changed here, or starts off the same for every week. I wanted to go, it starts off with hey all every week, but I think he felt that was too on the nose. I said ends with Breakout's melody. He felt that was too on the nose, so we stuck with it starts off the same for every week and ends with a game on PS3. Pick something right out of the drawer, then hold it up against the floor. That was, he wrote all that. Spew some junk about no sex, then a vegan comes just to say Gex. He wrote all that. At the desk, he said act like a hoarder. I changed it to look like a hoarder surrounded by some big blue borders. So that was pretty much all him. I want to say I adjusted slightly the melody just so that it worked better with the phrasing. But yeah, so that was a little bit more of a joint effort. It was that whole part was more of a joint effort lyrically. My screen's all burned in. I always have that stupid grin. Yeah. I like my virginity. I'm worried this 1080p outlines here for infinity. I do pride myself in that line. I did write that one. Yeah, my dad, Scott Williamson, was on drums. He is a professional session drummer, and he's very, very good at what he does. What was the most challenging thing to mix? Honestly, the guitars. The guitars were definitely, which, like I said, part of what happened was I got so concerned about getting Chase Akers and Bennett Roach's guitars, the Les Paul and the PRS sounding good, that I completely forgot about the mid-range. I was so concerned about the low end and the top end that I didn't really get the mid-range. So again, this is what it sounds like without Josh. Basically what happened was I sat there, I was like, ugh, this isn't quite sitting right with me. And I called Josh that night and I went, man, I need you to stack some rhythm guitars on top of this. I need that mid-range. I need that mid-tone. So again, this is what the track sounds like with the Les Paul, with Chase's Les Paul and Bennett's PRS. Right, it sounds good, but it doesn't sound quite full enough to me. So I got Josh in. and now it sounds really good. So, but I would say the guitars were probably the hardest thing to mix. The drums were a little bit tough in terms of the snare. I would say the snare took me a minute to kind of figure out, but it wasn't too bad. I would say the guitars were the hardest part to mix. Can you tell us when Scott first contacted you for the song? Earlier this year. He already talked to me about, like, you know, because I was working on the opening sequence for the for Borderline Forever all the way back, like, since last November, maybe even before that. Because I think he contacted us like sometime late summer or the fall or something like that last year to start figuring this out. But then he contacted me again early this year about, hey, I also want you to do a musical number for the video. So, you have any early versions of the song you can share? Yes, they're in the VOD, so you can hear them when you play the VOD back. Very sorry, some of you guys kind of got here late. But yeah, I showed all that stuff at the beginning of the video, so you can hear that when you go back to watch the VOD later. I know the stream is focused on closing in, but you worked on Super Nintendo games too, right? No, I did not. Super Nintendo games was Nicholas Carr. Again, I hope that's how you say his last name. He was pretty much completely in charge of Super Nintendo games. He was also in charge of the I already forget the name of that song, but yeah, he was responsible for those two. He and I both jointly did the opening sequence, literally the opening credits and VHS sequence. The music behind that, he and I worked together on. I did all like the synthy and rhythmic stuff and the big giant drums and all that kind of stuff. He did all the orchestral elements. So we might as well. That's it. Thank you. Yeah, those might as well in Super Nintendo games, both 100% Nick. So, yeah. But, yeah, what were some other inspirations besides Nirvana? Stone Temple Pilots. I listened to a lot of Stone Temple Pilots. I listened to King's X, Black the Sky, Soundgarden for sure. Puddle of Mud, I want to say. Yeah. Those were all some pretty prominent inspirations. A lot of people saying Linkin Park. I actually didn't listen to a lick of Linkin Park when I was working on this song. That's just a byproduct, I guess. But yeah, there was no direct inspiration from Linkin Park. So major Soundgarden vibes first time I heard it. Yeah, definitely Soundgarden. Subconsciously Foo Fighters, because I'm a huge Foo Fighters sucker. So definitely Foo Fighters as well. But yeah, that's what I would say is what about Deftones? You know, yeah, I did listen quite a bit to Deftones. And not intentionally for this track, but I definitely was listening to Deftones. So I'm sure it bled through. So if you're hearing any Deftones, you know, that's probably why. So how much did you actually know about the episode itself before it released? Well, I didn't see the full edit until it released, but I knew pretty much the whole story because he gave me the rundown. He gave me because I really needed context. I was like, okay, how is this gonna work? And I was really, really kind of nervous about this song for a while because I was really nervous it was gonna be way too out there. But that's exactly what Scott wanted, which is, you know, after watching the whole video, I was like, I get it. But yeah, I was pretty nervous about it for a while because it was like, I don't know if this is gonna make sense with like everything else. Like Nick's gonna do like really Broadway stuff, but even Nick was like, nah, dude, like it needs to be way out there because it's like this dream sequence and it's supposed to be kind of radical and crazy. And yeah, I mean, I've watched the video and I think it worked. You use autotune. I didn't technically use autotune, but I use flex pitch, which basically means I go in and specifically tune Scott's certain notes of his. You know, because I don't want it to sound perfectly tuned. You know, I want the character of imperfect singing to come through, right? So I did not use actual like auto tune, but I did go in and tune stuff. So not a question, but I'm glad you were able to take part in this because you did an excellent job. Thank you, appreciate that. I believe you're involved in making the intro track. Yeah, that's correct. If this is the case, if you're not talking about Super Nintendo games, you're talking about the actual first song you hear, the opening credits. How did you time the opening to be so exact? Like the countdown on the TV being in time with the music? Wait, are you talking about the countdown video that he posted on Twitter? I'm gonna need some clarification on that. Which one are you talking about? Lyrically, this song's incredible. It's such a cool self-aware breakdown of the entire format of his show and a critique of his running gags. And musically, it's so jarring in a narratively appropriate way. Hey, thank you. Yeah, we worked on the lyrics together, and I'm probably happiest with the lyrics in this song, you know, across pretty much anything else he's that we've done so far. You know, I remember I really worked on trying to throw in some puns there. You know, I'm on the border. I wrote he does my whole life need a giant watermark. I really never noticed something so stark. But I did the whole I'm on the border of starting over, why is it this way? And then as I was writing it, I was like, this is so deep, this is unnecessary. So I literally was like, what if you literally just like had a self-aware moment and went, these are some really deep questions. And I put it in as hold on, who wrote this? That's how I would do the gag. But in Scott's way, he went, this is too philosophical for me. And then Blue from feeling like I'm suffocating to lay it on the line. It's closing in on me. I was pretty happy with those lyrics, with writing that. Did you help Scott with the singing part? Is he really good at it? It depends on what. Yes, I produced him. Which came first, melody or lyrics? Melody. Always melody when I'm writing it. Always melody. I guess yes, I did help him with the singing part. I don't know. That's kind of a loaded question. It's kind of hard to answer that simply. Be extended or instrumental? There will be an instrumental, no extended though. Born to mention on the song, even if you didn't know what you were going to see in the episode, you already knew what it was about from the lyrics, right? Oh, well, no, I knew about the whole video. I knew what he was going for. I knew what the whole video was going to be about way before. Yeah, that's part of the reason I was able to write these lyrics. I needed that context. I don't know if I could have made this song as good as it was if I didn't understand, you know, what he was going for with the video and the whole story and context and all that stuff. So, yeah, no, I knew about the whole video. So he gave me a whole rundown of it and like, this is what's going to happen. This is how your song plays in. And then he sent me, this is another thing. He sent me an edit of Closing In once he had recorded it. And I added sound effect. You guys probably hear it in the video, but I added in sound effects on top to make it feel a little bit more like involved with the video and not just like a song, you know, splat on top of the video, you know. So Border's always in Scott's video though, right? Yes. Whole double entendre you just mentioned, bringing the world's blue in line. Chef's yeah, I that was fun. That was fun to write. Are you working on a new single or cover at the moment? I am not. I'm sorry to tell you, but I am not. You know, hopefully some stuff in the future, but when you first watched, did you think that the clip fits the song properly? I felt like once I saw the whole thing in context, I definitely was like, oh, yeah, I get it. You know, like I knew what he was going for. Again, I knew the whole story outline, but like I said, I was nervous about it for a while. I was like, man, this seems super wacky. Like it's not, but it all worked together, I think. I think it all worked together pretty well. Yeah. Is there are there any other questions that I missed? I probably missed some questions. So if anybody has a question that they didn't get answered, ask me again. The response to Spotify is I can't tell you. So, because I know I keep getting that question. Is this song 113 tracks? Technically, yes, but not really, because what's going on here? Let me go ahead and show you. No. Let me go ahead and show you.
Big blue board.
Whoops, I didn't mean to play it. What you're seeing here is a whole bunch of not used crap. All of this right here is scratch stuff. This is all MIDI stuff that, again, if you watch the VOD from the beginning, you'll hear the early demos. This is what, in fact, here, why not? Let me just show you right. Well, okay, never mind. They're all muted. Never mind. I'm not even going to bother right now. Anyway, you can hear it at the beginning of the VOD. All MIDI stuff, just to give an idea, like, okay, this is what I've written, this is what I'm going for, this is how I kind of want it played, right? That's what that is. All of this, scratch vocal ideas. That's all this is. All of this is just scratch vocal ideas, or things Scott's saying that we maybe considered putting in, but or takes, really. Not like ideas, but takes, and then we decided, nah, we're not going to keep them in there. That's pretty much what all this other crap is. So yes, technically there's 113 tracks in the project, but not really. You know what I mean? So, did you meet him in person, or was it all online? It was all online. Yeah, I've yet to actually meet Scott in person yet. Mainly because he lives in a state that doesn't exist. So that's kind of a dilemma. Was closing in the only track you made for this video? No, I did the opening credit song. And I also did the count. If you saw the countdown thing on Twitter that he posted before the video went up, or it was also a trailer, essentially, before the premiere of the video, I also did the music for that as well. Nick, more instrumental and you do vote? No, I did all the instrumental on this. I mean, well, the players did all the instrumental, but I wrote everything here and I produced everything here on Closing In. The better answer is Nick does more of the orchestral stuff and I do more of the rhythmic stuff. That's the best way to put it. Nick is pretty heavily in the orchestral realm and I'm more in the rhythmic area. So yeah. What other YouTubers have I worked with? I've worked with recently. I just worked with Chad Tronic. I've worked with Alpharad. I've done, if you've ever watched Alpharad's ending music at the end of every one of his videos, starting this year, starting February something. That's my song. I also have worked with Peanut Butter Gamer, with Open Your Eyes song. Who else have I worked with? Pymations. Who else have I know I've worked with other people. You know, I did the Hidden Block jingle when that was the thing, or I did the updated version of it. Anyway, yeah, I've worked with a few people. There's some other people I'm not thinking of at the moment, but yeah. Is the countdown song gonna go up anywhere outside the video? Yes, it'll probably go on SoundCloud is my guess. Will we get an instrumental version? Yes. Alvarad song does slap. Thank you. Yes, Youngtown. Yeah. Which I don't think I really forgot him. I think it was just more like I don't even really see him as a YouTuber. Like he was a YouTuber, but it's like, yeah, you get what I mean? He's just more of a very talented musician that I've worked with over the course of time now. Do you have any plans of remixing existing songs you've made? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. How can you work on so many different styles and genres of music so perfectly? It's just understanding the music. It's just understanding and having a love for it, and yeah, just I don't know. It's hard to really. You do Twitch? I do. Yeah, Twitch.tv/gwilly. Are there any more questions about this song? That's really what I meant when I said if you have any questions. Not really questions about anything outside of this song, because this is the closing in breakdown stream. So if you have any questions regarding this song, how it was done, anything like that, anything I didn't cover during the breakdown, then this is the time to ask. Why are we still asking about Spotify? I just answered. I just said I cannot answer you at this time about it. So I'm very sorry. I know you all want it on Spotify. I appreciate that. I cannot answer that at this time. Do you plan on releasing the vocals by themselves? No. What's his bits at the end? Oh, this stuff? I think these were just other random takes that didn't... Yeah, that just... This was... Because, okay, so... Oh, man, he'd kill me if I... Yeah, you can even hear him laughing because he screwed up the take. He's gonna hate that I showed you guys this. Let me turn all this off so you can... So, like, he literally... He would just send the takes, and then I would edit them in. Like, he literally even laughed over this one. Yeah. Yeah. See, so, like, he'd hate if I showed you guys this stuff. I'm wondering...
To lay it on the line, it's closing in on me.
So I know he's like, he did numerous different takes and stuff, and I just kind of kept it all in, and then he kind of...
Constantly from day to day.
Right.
Constantly from day to day.
Right, just different, that's pretty much how he sent it all to me.
We just recorded the exact...
Right, yeah, so then he's talking to me about it.
So, I potentially just recorded the exact same stuff I recorded from last time, so if none of those work, let me know. Maybe we could hop on a call when you're free.
Yeah, anyway, yeah, so you get... So, and he would, yeah. Anyway, he's gonna kill me. Nobody tell him I showed you guys that. I didn't show you guys that. You didn't see anything. Anyway, there you go. Yeah, so that's what those extra little bits are there. That's just, these are just extra takes that I didn't use, and I guess I didn't delete, so, yeah. Yeah, that's that. Any other questions? Should you go over the mastering? Yeah, oh, you know what? That's a good question. So I had a separate project that I did the ultimate mastering, but I did do some stuff on the mix bus here. I'll show you guys this real quick. So as you can see, I've got another SSL compressor on the overall stereo mix bus. Again, 30 milliseconds attack time, 2-to-1 ratio. It's not hitting too hard. So let me go to a loud spot here so you guys can see how the meter is working. I realize I probably played that over my vocal.
Closing in on me.
Right, so it's not doing too much. If you look at that meter, it's not moving too much, right? Again, the release is very short too, so it's all coming back pretty quickly. Analog is on. I like that element of it. Tape, again, virtual tape machine on the master bus. And like this changes a lot for me. Let me turn it off. You can listen to this without it on. Here's with it on. It sounds so good. That tape emulation is so good. Thank God for Slate Digital. I love you so much, Slate. And then on top of that, I've got this Waves Abbey Road TG mastering. A little bit of mid-side EQ overall. You know, I'm turning up a little bit of low end in the mid, taking out some of it in the sides. You know, you can see all this kind of stuff. I'm taking out a little bit of low mids in the center, but bringing up a little bit of it in the sides, you know, for the guitars. You know, again, taking, you know, so you can see all that. I've got the spreader up a little bit too. I don't know if the limiters work. No, limiter's not on here. But yeah, there's that. And then to top it all off, here's my limiter, my true limiter. This is actually what I'm and then I send all this to another project that I mastered it. I don't think I do the best mastering job ever, just good enough, you know. Probably most of the time I would have sent it to John Mayfield, my guy John Mayfield, to master, but in this instance I did not. So is this going to be upload this VOD will be available. Yeah. Swear this is straight up of a Nirvana song. Well, that was my main influence. When was the final version finished and sent to Scott? Roughly about half a week before the video released. Maybe a little, like, it was like, well, no, I think it was even before that. It was about a week before. But the actual master, I tried to hold off on the master because I was waiting to reference, but there's a lot of stuff. It didn't work out. But anyway, the final master that I sent him, I actually sent like the Friday before. There were reasons for that. I would have sent it way before that, but there was some stuff that happened. But yeah. What headphones do I use? Audio-Technica M50Xs. I'm gonna actually take them off at the moment because my ears need a break from dealing with those. Unrelated to the track, but how long have you been making music? I started just screwing around on the piano and writing things when I was about 4 years old, so I guess about 20 years. Yeah. Started writing late February, if I remember, as in no, not the lyrics. No, the lyrics were written after the general song was figured out. So I started writing the song in late February. Lyrics are almost always afterward. So can we hear the MIDI version? Like I said, that'll be available in the VOD. You can watch back the VOD later, and it'll be at the beginning of the VOD. So, thanks for going over this. A lot of other questions because I'm a noob at mix and mastering. Yeah, no, I love answering that kind of stuff. I mean, there is a fully MIDI version, and I showed it at the beginning of the stream. So, like I said, just check out the VOD when it's up, and just go to just watch the front, because I show the early demos. That's definitely my cue to pick up a pair. Everyone I've asked about that has given the exact same. They're one of the best studio monitors you can honestly get. They really are, because they give you a very honest sound. It's very honest. It's very flat. You know, it's not trying to be heavily in the bass or anything like that. It's a very, very honest, flat response, and that's what you want when you're mixing. You want to be able to, you want an honest sound. You don't want something that's going to try and make your sound good, right? So, do you plan on releasing stems on Patreon outside of vocals, or just probably just the instrumental? What's your favorite and least favorite line of this song? I don't know if I have a least favorite line. Probably my favorite line is just literally because I'm so proud of it. Because I wrote it. And just like my virginity, I'm worried this 1080p outlines here for infinity. That's probably my favorite line. Yeah. Yep. Thank you for the instrumental regardless. Yeah, no problem. Mainly use them for video editing, but I feel like it has a similar use case as audio, since a lot of video editing is dealing with audio. Yeah, for sure. Dang, I came a bit late. Yes, I'm very sorry. But again, you can watch the VOD later. And you can, you know, I mean, this is a long stream, but you can watch all of it and get a good idea of everything. So, if anybody wants to do the dirty work for me and put in timestamps, I don't know what I would gift you for that. A thank you. Oh, wow, Garrett, thanks, appreciate that. Will there be any tutorials on how to play this song? Oh gosh, I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell you because I didn't really play any of it. You know, I wrote it but I didn't play any of it, right? So like anybody that would say how to play it, that would be the people that played it, you know, the guitarists, Chase Akers, Bennett Roach, and Joshua Typley, you know, and also Chase Weimer on bass and my dad on drums. But yeah, no, I didn't play any of this. Well, I guess I programmed in the front stuff and whatnot, but yeah, I wrote all of it, but I didn't play any of it. So love the song though. I've been listening to it all week. Hey, thank you. Glad you like it so much. I don't know if this is something you'd be willing to divulge. I don't even know how to say it. My vocabulary is bad. Can we get a chord progression of this song? I mean, it's pretty simple. It's largely just freaking power chords. You know, it's pretty much just power chords a lot of the way through. The only thing is you got that extra color, like I brought all of this up earlier, but again, you've got that extra color on top with that kind of clean chorus guitar in the verses, right? So you got. Right, so all that is a I don't even know what, a C sharp. I don't know music theoretically the correct way to say these, but it'd be C sharp, A, B, C sharp, right? That's all that is. And then on top of that you've got, right, which is just a sus with a dominant 7 in the bottom. Dominant 7, sus 4, major 3rd. And then it does the major 3rd of C there, right? So that's the verse at least. You know, I know it goes other places, right? Where does it? Right, so you got and that's a what is that, a 9th? Yeah, that's a 9th in the top. So it's like a power chord with a 9th in the top. Right, that's your build up. 9th's a lot of grunge and 90s stuff. Love doing, throwing that 9th in there, and I love it. It's a great color. So that was part of that. The song inspired by anything or any song in particular? It feels weirdly nostalgic. Yeah, Nirvana, man. Nirvana. Grunge rock from the 90s. That's why it feels weirdly nostalgic to you. Grunge rock from the 90s. There's probably some elements of like early 2000s rock because I grew up on that. That was, you know, what I listened to as a kid. So yeah, but I mean that would probably be why it feels weirdly nostalgic, because it's very heavily inspired by Nirvana, you know, some elements of Stone Temple Pilots, Soundgarden, yeah, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, and again, like I just said, like this chord progression here in the build up is very. That chord was very, like, a lot of people like to play that. That was a big thing in the 90s and 2000s. It's closing in. Right. And then I actually forget how it goes but beyond that, because then it moves into that chorus, right?
Just like my virginity, I'm worried this
Yeah. That's just dominant 7s right there. So it goes from, what is that? F sharp, right? With that 9th on the top to, it modulates up to what is that? A natural. Again, with that 9th on the top, and then it goes that's a tritone essentially. It goes up to C natural with is a dominant 7 that you're hearing played in the chorus guitar. And then it just moves right up naturally to that. All that is literally all you're playing there is E power chord, C power chord, A natural power chord. That's it. This is probably one of the simplest songs I've ever written. Honestly, this is probably one of the simplest songs I've ever written. How about the Scott DeWaz theme at the beginning of the song? What about that? I showed that as well at the beginning of the stream. So you can go back and watch that. I showed how I did that, actually, how I got that reverse piano sound. But yeah, when the VOD's up, you can watch that back and see how that was done. But yeah. Is there any other DAWs like Logic Pro that you recommend for beginners? GarageBand. GarageBand's the one I would recommend for beginners because it's very straightforward and an incredible user interface. And then it's made by a lot of the same people that made Logic Pro. And so Logic Pro, you end up opening Logic Pro and you're like, oh, I'm already very familiar with this. And Logic Pro is essentially GarageBand with more bells and whistles. So have I ever worked with FL? No, I have not. But I do. T. Lopes, who's a very respectable composer, did Sonic Mania, uses FL Studio, and then there's a lot of really great like EDM artists and stuff that I know that use FL Studio. But I haven't messed with FL Studio myself. Yeah. All right, any other questions? I'm about to wrap up here. Any other questions about this song before speak now or forever hold your peace? Now is the time to get them in. T-Lopes does use FL Studio. This was rad as hell. Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad. I love that there's people that are interested in this kind of stuff. So I'm absolutely happy to answer and talk about any of this kind of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of information that I'm sure you'll very much appreciate seeing that I showed and kind of explained at the beginning of the stream. So yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being here. My internet literally is deciding to tank as we speak, which is very good that I'm wrapping up right now. So once again, thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Be sure to keep up with my new stuff that I come out with. Follow me on Twitter. And yeah, I hope to see you guys very, very soon. Follow me on twitch.tv/gwilly if you want to hang out with me and chat some more live. I play some games over there and we just chill and have some good old time, but I'm always happy to answer questions there as well. So anyway, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great night.